Sports Network.
What's up, everybody? Is there enough going on in the world of sports for you? There is for me. I mean, this is fun, man. The NFL trade deadline popped kind of like the NBA trade deadline. I love that. I can't remember ever seeing a flurry of trades like this at the NFL trade deadline before this year. We've seen trades before the NFL trade deadline. I like that the NFL is getting its NBA on. I like that. And to a degree, it did with J.J. Watt asking out of Houston for his release, Matt Stafford asking out of the Rams, obviously, out of the Lions to the Rams. Deshaun Watson, to a degree, like player empowerment's hitting the NFL a little bit. Elijah Moore, trade request anybody? It's the most NBA thing ever. And the Jets, of course, scoffed at him. But all kinds of NFL trades to talk about. They're very intriguing for fantasy, for dynasty, for betting purposes. I got waiver wire activity for you guys and girls here later on tonight. We've got NBA props around the corner. Tonight with props because the first NBA games go at 7:30 tonight. So we got a little bit of room. We get World Series Game 3 tonight. I'll be unpacking all kinds of opinions on that. And we have three great guests. We have Nick Whalen at 7:30. We have at 8:30 Paul Charchian. And at 9:30, we've got Steve Alexander. And looking forward to hanging out with those three guests with us tonight. Here, Frankie Pug says, good evening, Cam. Great pick last night with Ivy. Busy day today with trades in the NFL. Frankie Pug's you the man. I'm glad you went with Ivy. And when I got off the air, I was able to watch the end of that Detroit and Milwaukee game. And it came down to Cade Cunningham missing a couple of shots in the clutch. And I love him and you love him, but that's what the game came down to. But Jaden Ivey blew out his prop bet last night. It was 12.5, and he soared up to 19. So we're going to try to do that again for you here tonight and stay hot with the NBA prop bets. That's right around the corner. But let's dive in here to the NFL trade deadline and the analysis of it. We'll get as far as we can go here before we bring on Nick Whalen at 7:30. The Bears acquired, and I'll run them down for you here. I kind of put them in quick hitter form. Claypool is a Chicago Bear. All right. I freaking love this trade. It's my favorite trade that went down. And I'll explain why in a minute. But Claypool is a Chicago Bear. Great news all the way around. TJ Hawkinson is a Minnesota Viking. I like this one in sort of like future betting more than I do in fantasy because I think Hawkinson may take a downgrade or remain static. I don't see this as an upgrade for TJ Hawkinson. Going back to Claypool, like he's just where he's slotted. He has a chance to be Chicago's number one. I don't think it's going to take that long for him to become that guy. So really love her for Claypool. It's an arrow pointing straight up move for him. For Hawkinson, it's wobbly. It's like kind of flat, kind of a lateral move. The Miami Dolphins, who are fast becoming my club, they get Bradley Chubb today, and they got my guy Jeff Wilson today. You know the history that me and Jeff Wilson have together in fantasy. And now he's a Miami Dolphin, and I freaking love it, okay? I'll just say right now, the Miami Dolphins are a plus 2,900 to win the Super Bowl. Plus 2,900. Go out there and bang on that one. Give me the opportunity to Venmo you some money, and I'll bang on that one. Miami at a plus 2,900 with that absolutely loaded roster. Stop it. Calvin Ridley is a Jaguar. How about that? Calvin Ridley. Out of exile in Atlanta, not out of suspension, unfortunately, because Roger Goodell's an idiot of a boob. Suspended the whole year for gambling. Are you freaking kidding me, bro? Anyway, Ridley is a Jacksonville Jaguar. Very excited about that move for him, for the team. It's a great move. And then we have Zach Moss going to the Indianapolis Colts, Nyheim Hines going to the Buffalo Bills. And there's all kinds of ripple effects of that with the running back rooms. Obviously, it's not, oh my God, it's such bad news for Jonathan Taylor. It does not impact Jonathan Taylor. He's having a terrible year, but he's that dude, and he's not like looking over his shoulder at anybody. So those are the moves, okay? The big moves. A couple of like lower moves that really weren't notable. Let's focus on the big ones here. Chase Claypool is a Chicago Bear, and it was a second-round pick in this transaction right here. I like the valuation a lot. I had a first-round grade on Chase Claypool coming out of Notre Dame. 6'4", 230-pound, 4.4 speed guy, hand catcher, traffic catcher. He's a beast, man. Don't forget his rookie year with Pittsburgh. Don't forget. It's not that long ago, man. It's been a parade of horse bleep at quarterback. which is, and obviously, you've got Deontay Johnson there. They draft George Pickens, right? So, like, he's in a new place, and it's really, really cool. Ian Rappaport says that it's Chicago's own second rounder, not the Baltimore second rounder via the Roquan Smith trade. And I want to read you a couple of excerpts here from Roto World. Roto World writes, Claypool will immediately slot in at Chicago's number 2 receiver. He may eventually take over for Darnell Mooney. Like I said, I already see that happening. Darnell Mooney is a number 2, might be a number 3, definitely not a number 1. Okay, he's not. He's not big enough for it. He's not good enough for it, man. Not a big enough presence on the football field to be that number 1 guy. He's a slot or a number 2. Okay, cool. It's a good lane for him to be in, and I think it can be a productive lane for him. See Chris Godwin in Tampa Bay. But Chase Claypool fits the description of a number 1. So me and Roto World are with it on that. This is where me and Roto World part ways in the road. Roto World writes, it's a bit puzzling that the Bears decided to give up a second rounder for a third-year receiver without a 1,000-yard season to his name and just a year and a half of his rookie deal left. Well, Roto World, let me make some sense of this trade for you. The Chicago Bears have been absolute idiots in terms of the construction of their team around Justin Fields. You traded up to get him. He's an absolute badass, and you have to build around your quarterback. Jacksonville is doing it. That's why they're making the Calvin Ridley trade. It won't pay dividends this year. Next year, it will. Build around your quarterback. Chicago finally got the memo with that. Ryan Poles, finally made this trade right here. Should have been more aggressive seeking wide receiver help in the offseason. Cole Kmet, I'm all right with him. But the wide receiver room with Equinemius St. Brown and Byron Pringle, blah, 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 blah. Bad. Now you've got Chase Claypool, and you've got Darnell Mooney, and you've got Cole Kmet, and you've got Khalil Herbert coming on, and I think soon David Montgomery will be on another team. Okay, now you need one more. You do, but we're getting there. Okay, so Roto World, that's why you make this trade. And Chase Claypool was a second-round pick. Okay, they got a second-round pick back for Chase Claypool. Makes sense to me. Chase Claypool hasn't even scratched the surface of how good he can be. Actually, I take that back. He has. He did in his rookie year. But there's so much left in his game in terms of expanse and getting up to 80 catches and 1,100 yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns and sort of that range we want these guys to be in. Now, Justin Fields is his quarterback. He's not going with, a ready-made guy, a veteran guy that he's just going to get busy with. Justin Fields is still a big-time work in progress, throwing the football. We are seeing progressions, though. We are seeing him read the field better. We're seeing him throw with more touch. We're seeing development this year. Right now, it's happening. It's very, very pleasing to my heart to see it. He needs weapons, man. And this is a huge, no doubt about it, I'm going to that guy even covered type of guy. You can't throw to Darnell Mooney covered. The DB's going to climb over his back and bat it down or jump the route and pick it off. You can't do that. With Chase Claypool, you can do that. He can body guys like a power forward like Des Bryant used to and sort of be that power forward / alpha receiver. I mean, I freaking love this trade for the Chicago Bears, and I'm really proud of them for doing this. And you had to give up a second-round pick, but again, Pittsburgh gave up a second-round pick to get him. He's still super young in his career, and program arrogance kicks in here if you're Chicago, even though they have no right to have any program arrogance, that we're going to get Chase Claypool, and we're going to make him right. But finally getting help for Justin Fields. I'm so happy about this. I don't care about the Packers. I don't care about Aaron Rodgers' happiness, but the Packers to me should have been in on this, right? Give up a second, bring in Chase Claypool, and give yourself a chance. Green Bay has no chance. They're literally done. They're dead in the water as is. Go get a Claypool. It would have changed my outlook on the team and maybe your outlook on the Packers as well. But, and again, I love this trade. Shout out to Ryan Poles. And so let's move on to the next trade here. And it's TJ Hawkinson to the Minnesota Vikings. And I know a lot of my Viking fan friends. I'm in a fantasy basketball league with a lot of these guys. They're all Minnesotans. They're all big Viking fans. They're all chirping and very excited about this move. In reality, I'm excited about this move for the Vikings. In fantasy, I'm not excited about this move for TJ Hawkinson. This isn't like, ooh, giddy up, like Chase Claypool, right? Going from sort of a dead end situation to now the door is open to you being a wide receiver one eventually. That door is not open for TJ Hawkinson in an offense with Justin Jefferson. But the Vikings get TJ Hawkinson, a fourth round pick, and a conditional fourth round pick in 2024. So 2023, 2024, fourth round picks. The Lions get a second round pick and a third round pick. So I like the value that the Vikings are giving up here. All right, you're giving up, pardon me, what the Vikings are giving up here. They're giving up a second and a third. The third is in 2024. The second is next year. Giving up a second and a third. And they're getting back TJ Hawkinson, who, off the top of my head, was he a first-round pick? Help me out, guys. I seem to remember he was a first-round pick. Pretty damn sure about that. Second and third round pick to bring back a first round pick, like in his prime and still many, many years left. And you're getting back a fourth round pick and then another conditional fourth round pick. So you're not just going to be like vacated with the second and the third that you give up. At least you're going to get back a fourth in those drafts where you as a shrewd front office can make other stuff happen. I love it. I love how that all fits for the Lions. Not really sure why they're doing this, to be honest with you. Let me guess. They don't want to pay TJ Hawkinson in the future. That's probably why. So TJ Hawkinson is owed $9.4 million on his fifth-year option next season, and he'll be looking for an extension next spring. So that's why. The Detroit Lions, we like you. We might even love you, but your number and our number are two completely different things. So let's trade you to a team that has more of an appetite to pay you what you want. That's why they do this trade. And they have left behind James Mitchell, a rookie, and Brock Wright, who I've seen make a play or two. They will now be the tight ends for Jared Goff. I'm a Jared Goff owner in the Cam Dynasty, okay? Gave up a first-round pick to get him because I needed quarterbacks. And, Tannehill and Mayfield were my guys coming into the year. How would that have worked out for me, folks? So how can you give up a first-round pick for Jared Goff? That's why. It's a two-quarterback league. So this is not good news for me as a Jared Goff manager, man. Hawkinson's a bread and butter guy. It's another weapon taken away from him, right? So it's a buzzkill in that regard. If you're in a two-quarterback league and you have Jared Goff, you can share in my pain with that. Why would the Vikings do this, right? Well, because Irv Smith is always hurt. Irv Smith is a bust. Let's face it. These rock star tight ends coming out of Alabama, when have they ever worked out? They haven't. Okay. And Irv Smith, OJ Howard, these guys it's not working out, man. So the Vikings had to make a move, and the Vikings are 6-1, the talk of the town, one of the best teams in the NFL, at least in the win-loss column. Wait for the other shoe to drop, but they're going for it. So I like it. I do. And Hawkinson is a major upgrade over what you had left. I saw some dude named Munt scored a touchdown in the Vikings last game. Okay, TJ Hawkinson, let's get him in there. Big time upgrade. Now, in terms of Hawkinson's value, I believe that this will either be flatline in a lateral move, or this will cause a dip in TJ Hawkinson's value, a dip in his target share, a dip in his receptions, and everything else that goes along with that. Because you are now in a super talented offense with a choky quarterback, but it's not December yet, so we're good until December. When it gets real tough and then the Romo gene really kicks in. He's a 1 o'clock Hall of Famer. You have Adam Thielen, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Dalvin Cook, and now you've got TJ Hawkinson. Okay, you've got two real good wide receivers. You've got an elite running back, and now you have a very safely a top 10 tight end in the National Football League. Very safely, he's in the top third of tight ends in the NFL. And with Jefferson, with Cook, with a non-December version of Kirk Cousins, I love it. It's one of the most talented groups of QB run, wide, tight in the National Football League. But there's a lot of competition for that football in Minnesota now for Hawkinson, far more than he was experiencing in Detroit with Swift and Jamal and, of course, St. Brown and a little bit of Reynolds and a little bit of Khalif Raymond and all this stuff, right? So I obviously it's not like sell Mortimer, sell on TJ Hawkinson. Hang in there with it. I mean, he's not going to Siberia. He's not going to I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a lousy. He's not going to like Carolina's offense, right? I mean, he's going to the Vikings. So there's that. All right, I want to get into some NBA props right here. We got games about to tip off at about 7:30, and I will circle back to the NFL trade deadline here. So let's get into some prop bets. And we were 5-3 last night. We went with a lot of guys. I got let down by the Clippers late night. Paul George went way over his number, but Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson, y'all didn't. And maybe in this prop bet zone, you're dead to me. But they let me down last night. But I hit on a lot of other stuff, including Jaden Ivey, who we talked about, and Kevin Durant, who we went with last night. And we're going with him again, folks. The coach that Kevin Durant tried to get fired over the summer, Steve Nash, just got fired. Hello. Do you think Kevin Durant might have some eyeballs on him tonight? Do you think Kevin Durant might want to go out there and ball out tonight? I could stop there. And you're like 30.5, minus 125 to the over. Cam, where do I sign? But I'm not just going to give you one reason why to go with a prop bet. That's flimsy. We're not flimsy around here. We're Bettor Sports Network, dang it. It's a national TV game. We've had this conversation before. Remember the Durant and Luka game, Durant against Morant, all these big games, these showdown type games, these like volume turned up games. Forget about it. Good to go. 30.5. The Nets are 2-5, by the way, playing like garbage. They just fired their coach. Focus is not going to be an issue. It was on Saturday night at home against Indiana when Durant looked like he didn't want to be in the building. That will not be a problem tonight. That taste of Saturday is still in Durant's mouth. He was 8 of 20. He sucked. His team sucked. Came out like a lion last night. I think he's going to come out like a lion again here tonight against Chicago on TNT. Last year against Chicago, Kevin Durant soared. He averaged 31 points per game, 53% from the field, 44% on threes. He did his thing. There's nobody on Chicago that can check Kevin Durant. There's very few players in the league that can check Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's been over this number, 30.5, in 5 of his 7 games this year. 5 out of 7, over 30.5. Love it. And no Ben Simmons tonight. He will miss his second straight game with a knee issue. So that means the ball will be in Kevin Durant's hands more often. Okay? All kinds of reasons why we're going over here on Kevin Durant. Bam Adebayo, 18.5. We're going over this number. It was minus 120 to the over when I saw it about an hour or two ago. The number should be very similar there. 18.5. We're going over on Bam Adebayo. It is the Miami Heat hosting the Golden State Warriors tonight at 7:30 in a very intriguing game. Both teams not in a good way as they approach this one. Both teams with championship aspirations. There's some only 4 games in the NBA tonight, but we have 2 really, really good games. Actually 3, because Minnesota-Phoenix late night is very intriguing as well. Listen, don't be hung up on Draymond Green. Ooh, the Draymond Green matchup. I'm not going with Bam Adebayo. Draymond Green's on that team. He's a fire-breathing dragon. He is, and he might have hot breath. But the matchup with Draymond, don't worry about it. Here's why. Bam just smoked Draymond at Golden State on Saturday or Friday, whenever it was, for 26 points on 10 of 13. Smoked him. Okay? One meeting last year against Golden State. Bam Adebayo, again, got the better of Draymond Green. 25 points, 9 of 16 from the floor. This matchup is not a problem for Bam Adebayo. And Draymond is not the same defender that he once was. So after a slow start, Bam has gotten it cooking here, folks. In his last 3 games, he's been at 18, 26, and 23. Bam is going to take this game personally, going up against Draymond Green, who plays his position, or roughly. They go 1 in, 4 out in Miami. So Bam, Looney, Draymond, it'll be that whole cluster. But don't worry about it. This is a good matchup for Bam Adebayo. It's a big game. Miami's all pissed off. They're 2-5. And I see a big one from Bam, and 18.5 is a very gettable number. I think he's going to sniff this number at halftime. I really do. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 27.5. We're going over this number, folks. We got to get in while we can, right, before OKC shuts him down. He said with a smirk and a grin. It's the SGA show right now in Oklahoma City, especially with Josh Giddey out, and he's out again tonight. Josh might be back for the next game, but he's not playing tonight as the Thunder host the Orlando Magic. That right there should be a giddy up in your brain. They're hosting Orlando. Orlando sucks. They've got talent, but they suck. That should be what's in your brain right now. But anyway, the flow for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this year in terms of points. He's been over this number 4 out of 5. Check this out. 32, 28, 33, 24, 38. Busy. One game at 24, the rest he's shooting over this number. His flow in terms of shots, listen to this. We need shots to hit overs, okay, at prop bets. 23, 24, 22, 23, 27. Cam, why don't you just give me the average on that? Because I want to personify that every single game he is getting. Nobody is shooting the ball like this in the NBA. Off the top of my head, maybe there's one other guy, but there might be only one other guy. 23, 24, 22, 23, and 27 shots. Do you understand how bulbous that is? The star players shoot around 18, 19, 20, 21 per game. He's blowing that out of the water every game, and no dips down to 14 or a dip down to 15 where it was a free throw line game. No, well over 20 every game. Orlando, by the way, is out of guards almost. Jalen Suggs is coming back tonight. Jalen Suggs is not going to shut down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So SGA is at 27.5 points on his prop tonight, right? 27.5. He is averaging 31 per game, okay? 31 per game. So he's well over the number on his average. We talked about 4 out of 5 over the number with his flow this year. And Orlando is 17th in defense, okay? So SGA over 27.5. And I got 2 more for you, and I'm going to tell you about our giveaway, and then we'll take a break and get ready for Nick Whalen around this piece. I got one more guard from the Oklahoma City-Orlando game. His name is Trey Mann. You're like, huh? Who's Trey Mann? Trey Mann is the best player that you don't know about, but now you do. His point prop tonight is 11.5. He, by the way, is a combo guard, point guard / shooting guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he's really, really talented. He's got, hard to call him a wetter, right? But he's kind of got a wetter. He's got handles. He's a bucket getter. He's very smooth, very athletic, and he's a very, very good basketball player. He's the best player you know nothing about. So make some money on him tonight. Hell, maybe watch the game on NBA League Pass. But Trey Mann is averaging 13 points per game this year. Our number here is 11.5. He's been over this number in 4 out of his 6 games this year. No Josh Giddey is the Giddey up here. If Giddey were playing, we would not be talking about Trey Mann. I've got Trey Mann on a bunch of my fantasy teams right now, temporarily until Giddey comes back, and then I'll send him back to waivers. Mann is coming off of a 2 of 9 performance at Dallas, which is a hellhole for offensive players. So we're going to get a bounce back factor working in our favor here. And man, get this. This is a very intriguing stat for me. Created a wow moment when I looked at this. He averaged 17 a game last year against Orlando in 2 meetings. And he's like a way better player now than he was. And Orlando, they might have been decimated with injuries last year too, but he averaged 17 a game against Orlando last year. And we need 11.5 tonight. And then finally, Cam Johnson. In the nightcap tonight, the second half of the TNT doubleheader, it's going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Phoenix Suns. And I believe that Cam Johnson is going over his number of 14.5. It's a minus 115 to the over. He is building towards and has been building towards this breakout game on national TV. He got off to a slow start to the season. He was injured in the preseason, didn't play a whole lot. And so, like, the beginning of the regular season was his preseason. But now he's cooking. Pop. Now is the time to get on Cam Johnson, especially when the number is low like this, because I see him hovering around 16 to 18 points per game, like for the season long. And Vegas will adjust and they will raise this number, but they haven't yet. The last 2 games, Cam Johnson has been at 16 points and 19 points, but well over this number in both of the last 2 games. Last year against Minnesota, he matched up very well against the Wolves, averaged 15 points on 50% shooting and 40% shooting on threes. Have you noticed that Chris Paul has turned into an older version, a more doughy version of Ben Simmons? Ben Simmons doesn't want to shoot. Chris Paul doesn't want to shoot anymore. It's weird. He's been one of the best shooting point guards, that we've ever seen. And now it's all broke. He's out of shape, by the way. He's real, kind of like low-key flabby. Like, check him out tonight. Like, look at the arms. When he's at the free throw line or they, get a little ISO on him on the camera, look at his arms. Like, look at his arms. Look at his neckline, chin line, right? That's where you can see it. That's where you put on extra weight. Don't look at mine. Don't weight shame me. But CP3 ain't in shape, man. So this is going to mean more goodies from Cam Johnson. He's going to have to shoot more. They need more offense. Chris Paul's not giving them any ball in the hole. Cam Johnson will do that. The Wolves, by the way, are very generous. They allow 113 points per game. It's a great matchup for Cam Johnson. We're going to go over this number here of 14.5. So again, it's 14.5 on Cam Johnson, over. 11.5 on Trey Mann, over. SGA, 27.5, over. Bam Adebayo, 18.5, over. And Kevin Durant, over 30.5 points on his point prop. So we have a giveaway tonight, folks, that we're very excited about around these parts. It will be a Garrett Wilson autographed full-size Jets helmet. It's dope. If you go to @RickHamlin Sports, or if you go to @Bettor Network, you can see the helmet for yourself. You can see the helmet that you will win tonight. It's got a GW and a line, and it's a really, really sharp piece of memorabilia, man. Here's how you get it. You got to like and retweet the Wilson post, okay? And again, @Bettor Network, you will see it. @RickHamlin Sports, you will see it. Like and retweet the Wilson post. And you must have the Bettor Sports Network app downloaded to win. And if you're listening right now, you should have the app downloaded. I'm not sure how else you'd be receiving this dissemination, to use all those fancy terms. But that's coming up at 9 o'clock, okay? So stay tuned for that. Look alive for that. Like I said, like and retweet the Wilson post @Bettor Network. And you must have the Bettor Sports Network app downloaded to win. That's it. We're really not asking all that much from you. We don't need to see your passport. We do not need the last 4 of your social security number. It's just those very, very nominal and benign things right there. Okay. So we're going to catch a break right here, and we will talk more about Steve Nash being let go, Ime Udoka on his way in as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, and some of the angles about that with Nick Whalen. He's a basketball expert with RotoWire. Had him on a show recently. He was fantastic. So we'll have him on here on Bettor Sports Network, and I presume he'll be fantastic over here as well. I'm Rick Kamla. We're Bettor Sports Live.
Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on Bettor Sports Network.
Andy Reid is the best current coach in the NFL. He's better than Belichick. Belichick has lost his way. He's better than Tomlin. He's better than Harbaugh. He's better than Shanahan. He's better than McCarthy down in Dallas. He's better than all of the gangster NFL coaches right now. Sean McDermott up in Buffalo, he's better than all these guys. Andy Reid is the greatest gangster that we have at head coach in the NFL right now. And I understand that you're saying, well, Belichick is the GOAT, Cam. How can that be true? Now you're bringing up old stuff. Bill Belichick can't draft anymore, okay? Talk to me. Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. Talk to me. DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel versus N'Keal Harry, okay? Talk to me. This dude has lost his way. Remember the year when he should have bottomed out and just tanked, but he couldn't, and he went and got Cam Newton, and they were a mediocre team, right? He's lost his way. And not that he can't coach up a good defense and that kind of thing, but overall, he's lost his way. Andy Reid's an absolute badass. They draft great. He's a great coach, makes the right decisions, when to go for it, when to kick, when to punt. The guy's the man.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I hate the stupid unsportsmanlike conduct. As long as you're not disrespectful to the opponent, you should be allowed to celebrate.
How I used to say it, and to bring up, because now basketball's starting to bring up.
Oh, dude, it's even worse than basketball, isn't it?
So Dikembe Mutombo, who used to get teed up in the 2000s, in the 90s, they didn't give a crap. 2000s, though, when they tightened up the rules, they used to tee him up more when he did the Dikembe finger wag. But they wouldn't tee him up if he did it to the crowd, instead of looking at like Eton Thomas, like one time I remember, and doing it right to him, or when his back was turned, doing it right to him. If he did it to the crowd, they would never call it. And so that makes me wonder if these players, while, yeah, they want to talk a little smack, maybe they should flex towards the crowd than at the player who they're standing over.
I guess.
I know again, it's soft, man.
It is soft.
Because you know what?
Like we're gonna give 15 yards for that,
bro. They think that, you want to know why they're paranoid? They think that's gonna turn into a fight.
See, I disagree with that. That's not going to start a fight.
I agree with you. They don't agree with us.
It's one thing, okay, if you spit in someone's face or say something derogatory, like about their family or something,
right,
yeah, that can incite it. But if you're just like, yeah, I made that play, what? You know what I mean? Like, again, they know the rules. You got to know you're going to get flagged. You have to have discipline. But, like, I don't know. I have no problem with celebration as long as it's not disrespectful.
What's disrespectful? You know,
it's interpretation, and that's my problem. Watch, it's going to cost someone in a big playoff game, and that's when people are going to go crazy. There'll be a third down play. Someone makes a pass breakup, and they're in someone's face. They're going to throw a flag. It'll extend the drive. That team scores, wins the playoff game because of it. You need something drastic for it to really leave an imprint, and I hope that doesn't happen to mine.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
Bettor Sports Network. Our show is Bettor Sports Live. I am Rick Kamla. And we welcome on now a guy that I was impressed with doing an interview with him a little while back. His name is Nick Whalen. He's with RotoWire, senior analyst and iced coffee insider. He's also on SiriusXM as an NFL and NBA host. And now he's on with Rick Kamla here on Bettor Sports Network. Nick Whalen, how the hell are you, sir?
Rick, it is great to be back with you. I do claim to be an iced coffee insider, both for RotoWire and in my personal life. But unfortunately, up here in Wisconsin, iced coffee season is long gone. It's like 35 degrees every morning when I wake up. So we moved on to hot coffee, but we'll be back, of course, every summer. But looking forward to talking some NBA with you, man. It's been a great start to the season.
It sure has, Nick. So I definitely want to ask you about the Jazz, right? 6-2, and get your thoughts on that. But we can't bury the lead here. My God, Steve Nash let go by the Brooklyn Nets. They're going to bring back Ime Udoka, who was an assistant there just a couple of years ago. And Nick, I just want to bounce this off you. And I told the people this a little bit. I told Fensty and Ronis earlier. Like, the Nets were a dying team. Like, I feel like they're sort of reborn with this. I feel like if you had a ticket on the Nets to win the championship, now that ticket is viable again. And so, God bless Nash. He got whacked today, and Ime Udoka is going to take over. But, like, to me, this is outstanding news for the Brooklyn Nets to save a dying season. How do you look at it?
I don't know if I'd go as far as to say outstanding news, but this is clearly a team that needed some sort of shakeup. So I'll agree with you on that. I think riding this thing out as the season was with Steve Nash, it was clear, if you're firing your coach 2 weeks into the season, something was very off. And I think we'll get more details on this in the coming days and the coming weeks. I don't know that I feel dramatically better about the Nets, though. There was a lot of reporting today that it's like, this team is just kind of soured from the inside out. I don't know that a coaching change is going to matter, but I kind of like the change for the sake of change approach, if nothing else, because clearly this team was heading in the wrong direction. I think they're lucky that the LA Lakers exist, because it felt like the Lakers were getting a lot of the high profile criticism for their slow start, but the Brooklyn Nets have not been a whole lot better so far. And I think on paper, bringing in Ime Udoka, it makes sense. It's certainly an upgrade from a tactical standpoint, from an X's and O's standpoint, but you're also pouring gas on a fire in terms of bringing in yet another controversial figure to this roster. So I don't know. Maybe the argument for the Nets is that somehow all of this cancels everybody cancels each other out. They become a normal team. But with that said, I still don't like, they're hanging around like 8-1, 9-1 to win the title. To me, that's still a little bit too low given how much volatility there is here.
Look, I don't think the Nets are going to win the championship. I've never recommended anybody bet on them to win the championship, right? I mean, like last year was sort of like me and the Nets parting ways in the road, right? Like they just can't get it right. It's an injury. It's a vaccine dilemma. It's James Harden getting traded there and 13 months later asked out, like Durant throwing GM and coach under the bus. Like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, you can pull me back in, kind of like the Lakers. Make a trade. Pull me back in. But as we stand right now, I'm completely out on your whole thing. So Nick Whalen of RotoWire hanging out with Rick Kamla here on Bettor Sports Network. I'm going over on Kevin Durant's prop tonight, Nick. It is 30.5. And obviously he's living in the 30s this year, but dang it, this is a national TV game. The coach he wanted whacked just got whacked. I see a big one from KD tonight. How about you?
I like where your head's at. I think by default, they need these games from Kevin Durant just to hang in with teams like the Chicago Bulls, right? I mean, the Nets are the worst defensive team in the league coming into tonight. So there's been a lot of high-scoring games. They need to be playing these games in like the 120s. We've already seen some games played in the 130s for them. And obviously, Kevin Durant is going to be the driving force behind that. Coaching aside, I think this is a flawed roster as well. And I think it's easy to just look at Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Some people love the addition of Ben Simmons and say, oh man, this is a super team. You got those three guys. It doesn't matter who you put around them. I think we're seeing in the current NBA that it's no longer enough to have 2 or 2.5 or even 3 stars on the team if your rest of your roster can't really contribute. And what Durant is having to do for this Nets team, I don't think this was the plan. I don't think when he came to Brooklyn, he said, all right, when I'm 34, 35, 36 years old, I want to have to average 30 points a game just to keep my team, fighting for a 500 record. It's kind of similar to what we've seen from LeBron later in his career. And now Durant is kind of going through that same thing. So yeah, I mean, almost any night, it feels like Durant is one of those guys who's pretty much matchup proof whether you're talking player props, fantasy basketball, things of that nature. I think this is a solid matchup for him against the Bulls. And I think the Nets don't really have a chance most nights unless Kevin Durant is giving you around 30 points or more.
Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, Nick, as you know, are both averaging in the 30s, okay? They're averaging about 62, 63 points per game themselves. That's ridiculous, okay? And they're not even close. Their point differential is upside down at a -6. With two guys averaging 30 points per game, this roster is very flawed. I think that was a great point that you just made. All right, so I want to, Nick, get your theory on something here, because there is an absolute explosion of scoring and offense in the NBA right now. Let me give you may already know these numbers, but for those listening here, there are 10 players averaging 30 points per game right now. There are 15 teams averaging 115 points per game right now. Half of the league is averaging 115. Last year, we had 2 teams average 115 points per game. Now we've got 15 teams averaging 115 points per game and 10 guys living in the 30s every single night. What is your theory as to why that is happening?
Yeah, Kevin Pelton, I think it was, for ESPN, had a pretty interesting piece on this morning that I actually read. And, his theory was, well, for one, teams are just more efficient than ever. I think, the 3-point revolution, analytics, people throw those terms around, but we're well past that at this point. Like, teams just kind of operate on a more efficient basis. They know which shots to take. And we're seeing that borne out now over the long term, where we're getting those long-term results. But, another interesting point that Pelton brought up was the transition take foul rule. The change in that rule this year, transition points are up this season. We're not seeing as many players, just be able to get away with grabbing a guy and all of a sudden you're taking the ball out. It kills a fast break opportunity. One, you're either seeing teams convert those fast breaks into points, or two, if you do have someone kind of lapse and commit that foul, you're sending a guy to the free throw line. Players are shooting 90+% on the season on those take foul free throws. And then that team also gets the ball. So I think that seems like a really small difference, but over the course of hundreds of games throughout the season, it really does make a difference. But overall, to me, I do think there will be some regression as the season goes along. I don't think we're going to have double-digit players averaging 30 points per game when all is said and done. But it's interesting to me. I'd be interested to hear your case as well. Like, it passes the eye test, right? It just feels like there's a higher level of basketball being played in 2022 than there was 5-10 years ago, when it felt like so many teams were really top heavy. You had 2 or 3 guys that pretty much did all the heavy lifting on offense, and then a lot of role players. It just feels like now we're getting every draft class, 5, 6, 7 guys who are immediate contributors. There's just more competent scoring talent around the league.
There is, Nick. I'm buying everything you're selling right there. Let me also add this in and see if you have been observing this too while you've been watching games. Do you remember how they started last year and there was the emphasis with the officiating on for us to call a foul, you got to foul the guy. We're no longer just blowing the whistle at when you brush a guy or when you breathe on a guy or sidecar a guy. Like, you've got to really foul a guy. That was the beginning of last year. As the year went along, it went back to sort of how they were officiating, right, with the quick whistle. I feel like they're like all the way back to the quick whistle. And so, that it's a very pro-offense whistle. Are you seeing that as well, that the whistle is going more towards the offense than the defense, versus the beginning of last year when they had this emphasis on actually helping out the defense?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And, it's interesting because it really did feel like a minor crisis at the beginning of last season, where all of a sudden guys like James Harden and Trae Young, it felt like they were stripped of their powers. And then, 2-3 months into the season, we gradually got back to where we had been in the past. And obviously those guys' individual numbers rose accordingly. I mean, if you just look at the raw free throws per game number, it's as basic as it gets. Last season, teams averaged 21.9 free throw attempts per game. This season, the league average sits at 24.1. So, yeah, I think just looking at that basic metric tells you that, more fouls are being called. Even if we're trying to reduce the fouls in transition, I think we're seeing more fouls called in the half court.
It's great stuff, man. And so how can people make money off of this? How can people get better at fantasy with this? Well, first of all, takeovers on prop bets, which we talk about all the time, right? Like, it's a good time to take SGA. I'm over his number tonight, Nick, at 27.5. If you told me going into this season that on November 1st, I would be telling people to play the over on an SGA prop at 27.5. I would have said you are nuts. If you would have said 23.5, 24.5, okay, maybe. 27.5 for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's an amazing player, but damn, that's where we're at this year. It's time to go over on these prop bets. And if you've got one of these guys that's cooking, it's sustainable, for a lot of these guys. Oh, man. And I keep hearing, Dave Poland, our guy out here in our comments, he says it's early. And I keep hearing it's early. I know it's early, but we do have 2 weeks of a sample size. Okay. So we can't just poo-poo what we've seen here, Nick, through 2 weeks. But we mentioned Utah. Okay. Did you have another point to make on that real quick?
No, I just wanted to agree with you. And I think, we're going to see the markets adjust. Obviously, those prop bets are, those numbers are going to rise. And we're already seeing a ton of high totals around the league. So you're never going to beat Vegas when it comes to those kind of numbers. But I think you're right to highlight, I feel more confident than ever betting player props, especially player point props. I think SGA is a good one to mention. John Morant, to me, it feels like every night is just a guarantee to score more than 30 points. I don't know if that has to do, partially with the officiating. It reminds me in some ways of the conversation we had around the NFL a few years ago, where it felt like offenses were just getting too good. That's kind of come back in a major way this season, but maybe we're at the beginning of kind of a mini offensive revolution of sorts in the NBA in terms of these individual numbers.
Not going to hear a complaint out of me. We're fantasy players here, man. We love the goodies. And Nick Whalen of RotoWire hanging out with Cam here for a couple of more minutes. So let's talk Jazz here. 6-2. They are. They've got 6 players averaging doubles. I forget some of the other numbers off the top of my head, but a lot of metrics very much in their favor right now. Marking it at almost 23 points per game. Nick, is this sustainable? Is this really where the Jazz are going with this year? Or do you think they're off to a hot start and they will hit the tank button very, very soon? Talk to me about that.
I think the more likely scenario is the latter. And, part of the reason I think that they're off to the start that they are is that they didn't trade some of the pieces that we thought would be off this roster by now. Guys like Mike Conley, guys like Jordan Clarkson. Really nobody, I think, outside of Colin Sexton and a few of those young guys are officially safe. Wouldn't shock me if guys like Kelly Olynyk or Lauri Markkanen are shopped around for the right value. I think this is a team that is really realistic about where it stands. I don't think they expected to be sitting at 6-2 right now. I think they'll lean into this for the early part of the season, but I think ultimately everyone is on the same page as far as what the goal is for this season, and that is to give this organization the best chance to land Victor Wembanyama or even Scoot Henderson in the 2023 NBA draft. I don't think this is a team that's going to take a short-sighted approach and try to gun for the 9 seed in the Western Conference. I think they know what they have here, and I think they're going to turn guys like Conley and Clarkson into even more assets. But it's been a fun story to monitor. I mean, everybody just wrote this team off. We thought they'd be getting beat by 20 every single night. Instead, they're really well coached. They're a top 10 defense. And it feels like a lot of these cast-offs, guys like Lauri Markkanen, he's playing the best basketball of his career.
Nick, quickly before we let you go here, I feel like I faded Markkanen coming in, fearing the tanking late season shutdown where he won't be available for me in the fantasy playoffs, right? And I'm still with that, especially now at 23 points per game. I'd be selling high on Markkanen. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would hang on to him for a little bit longer, try to milk this, for another month or two if you can. I don't think you need to sell him immediately, but I think there's a very good chance that he kind of becomes this year's version of SGA, who, as a fantasy player yourself, how frustrating that's been these last couple of years. And honestly, it feels like we might be heading down that path again with SGA and maybe even Josh Giddey. Fingers crossed on that one this year. But I think the NBA privately has probably told these teams, hey, we don't want an 82-game tank fest here. We understand what's at stake, but at least, put on a face for a little bit. I think once we get past the All-Star break, that's when things are really going to tip off in terms of tanking.
I completely agree. Portland did it last year with Nurkic and Simons. OKC's done it 2 straight years with Giddey and SGA and all these guys. So, the tank is coming. Houston with Wood and Wall, these teams.
Exactly. Exactly. And some of these teams we don't even know yet. We didn't go into last season thinking Portland was going to tank, but
good point.
All of a sudden Damian Lillard misses the second half of the season. And what else are you going to do? At Washington last year with the Brad Beal injury, there are going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 teams who have that kind of situation come up. Teams that we were not saying, hey, this might be a team that's trying to tank its way to the number 1 pick. But by virtue of injury luck, that's how it's going to go.
Hey, Nick, I really appreciate the time, man. I know you got a gig coming up. So tell people about the show you've got coming up and where to read you and follow you and all that kind of stuff before we let you go.
You can follow me on Twitter at Whalen, but the L is a 1, so WHA1EN. You can find my work, of course, over at RotoWire. And Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time, over on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. I co-host RotoWire Fantasy Sports Today with my guy, Jeff Erickson. So if you're an XM listener, make sure you check that out.
So Nick, just a quick question for the next time so you do NFL too. You're a multi-sport guy. You're not just NBA, right?
NBA and NFL, dabble in some college basketball, college football as well, but NBA and NFL mostly.
I love it, man. I love it. Right near my heart as well. Nick O'Killam on the show tonight, and we will talk very soon, and good luck with all your teams, man.
Hey, same to you, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Nick Whalen right there. Absolutely fantastic. And again, give him a follow, folks, at Whalen, where the 1 is the L, or the L becomes the 1. So give them a follow. So the World Series is about to get underway here, folks, at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So let's get into this, okay? A lot to unpack before this game gets going. I'll let you know right now, I like the Astros tonight. And by now, I've been on the Astros to win the World Series the whole time. Pre-playoffs, the whole thing. Okay, I'm still with that. But I got Houston tonight. So yesterday, it's interesting. So follow me here. Let's talk about the pitching change, that was born of the postponement with the rain there, okay? Yesterday, the money line on this game with Noah Syndergaard on the mound was Houston minus 135. And today it's Houston minus 125. Yesterday, Philly was a plus 115. Today, they're a plus 105. So money has come in on the Phillies because of the switch from Syndergaard to Suarez. Is it sharp money? Or is it stubborn, arrogant, Northeast? I'm a fan of my team, and damn it, they're going to win money. That's the side I'm on. You see this a lot with, there was a Yankee game that we were talking about. Is it sharp money, or is it just a bunch of Yankees fans going to the window and putting a bunch of money on this because they're Yankee fans and they think their team is going to win, right? So I'm playing that card again here. I know how the Northeast operates, especially with baseball. You can't tell them nothing. Well, the metrics say and the analytics say that you're not going to win this game because I don't care, we're winning this game. Pour more beer down my throat, right? I'm not trying to categorize the entire Northeast as a bunch of beer drinkers, but I think you get the idea of just like my team is winning, no matter what. It's people that drink beer all over the country, okay? But just this mindset of it's not about analysis. It's not about knowing something, having an edge. It's just about my team's going to win this game and I want money on my team, okay? So I don't look at that as sharp money. I don't. And so let's analyze. How big of an upgrade is it from Thor to Suarez? Is it even an upgrade at all? Andrew Suarez. Okay, let's get into his numbers here. I will say this. The Phillies are 4-0 in the playoffs when Suarez pitches. And this is either starting, coming out of the bullpen, whatever. 4-0 when he appears in the game. Kind of probably a coincidental stat, but it's 4 games. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. But he's a big question mark, just like Thor would have been. Okay, Suarez's home road splits are not in his favor. He's got an ERA at home in Philly of 4.27. His road ERA is much better at 3.20. That's not a good indicator for the Phillies side. In one start against Houston this year, Suarez got lit up. They blew his hat off his head, okay? 3 innings, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. That's right, folks. 10 base runners in 3 innings. Hard to be worse than that. So, and the other thing is, how many pitches does Suarez have in him at this point? He started early in the playoffs. He's been coming out of the bullpen. Like, how many pitches does this guy have in him? He feels very opener-ish to me, kind of like Syndergaard was going to be. Throw 45 pitches, 51 pitches. I don't know, maybe 29 pitches. Like, I don't know, but not 90, 95, 100. So, Syndergaard, okay, and this is my analysis going into last night's game, but let's juxtapose him versus Suarez because there's a betting angle at stake here. Thor, at this point, is nothing more than an opener, like I view Suarez, maybe a 5-inning guy. Like if Suarez is super efficient and can go like 12 pitches per inning, go 60, get to the 5th inning, okay, but like, is he going to do that? Probably not. Syndergaard has been solid in the postseason, folks. 3 appearances, 5 1/3 innings, 1 run allowed, okay? But he's only thrown 16, 35, and 17 pitches. he does have a career playoff ERA of 2.30. Most of that was with the Mets, like back in the day when he was really Thor and all that kind of stuff, but still that's a good number. Home road splits. He's awful on the road, 4.64 ERA on the road, 3.47 at home. So his home road splits are much better than Ranger Suarez. Oh, the Phillies analytical department, they didn't get wind of that, did they? And Syndergaard was really good against the Astros this year. 2 starts, 2.89 ERA, and a 1-0 record. So is it an upgrade to go from Thor to Suarez? I think it's a push. What do you guys think out there? Okay, interact with the show. We always love that. Hit the call button right next to the fun button. You can get in with audio or video. You can hit join the show and make comments and that kind of thing. What do you guys think? Do you feel like it's better news for the Phillies to have Suarez instead of Thor? Or are you like me where it's kind of, they're both the same, like, you know, different bodies, different pitches and all that, but like it doesn't move my needle. It really doesn't. Here's the thing. Both are probably going to get the ball tonight and probably within the first 5 innings of this game. Suarez is going to be in there. Let's say he gets lit up. Syndergaard's probably going to be the guy they go with. Actually, I think I'm wrong about that. I think they have Syndergaard planned to start later on in the series. So let me check up on that. But I don't check up on, it's basically a push or a wash between those two pitchers. Okay. So I understand the line movement. Ooh, Suarez is in there. Thor's not in there anymore. Okay. Because Thor's not really in the good graces right now. But to me, it's a lateral move. All right. You had Suarez, you had Thor, really not a needle mover for me. I don't think that all of a sudden the Phillies have lady luck on their side because of the pitching switch due to the rain. I don't. Let's talk about Lance McCullers on the mound for the Houstonians tonight. It has been a mixed bag so far for McCullers in the postseason. In a start at Seattle, he was lights out. 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, no runs, 7 Ks. Beautiful. Then he had a start at New York. 5 innings, 3 runs allowed, 9 base runners in those 5 innings, and 6 Ks. The Astros did win both of those games. He has a career postseason ERA of 2.77. Wowza. I got you with that one, didn't I? Career postseason ERA of 2.77. Lance McCullers on the mound tonight for the Stros, who I'm going with. In the World Series back in 2017 against the Dodgers. Okay. World Series experience matters. Hello, Justin Verlander, absolute rock star. Every round, every situation in the playoffs, get him to the World Series, and he pitches batting practice. It's absolutely insane. Verlander in the World Series. It's what it is. It's choke artistry. It's the Romo gene. That's why. But McCullers back in 2017, his only World Series experience, he was pretty good. 7 2/3 innings in 2 appearances, 3 runs allowed, 6 Ks, 11 base runners. So dirty, but didn't get annihilated either. And that's the Dodgers offense back in 2017. Against the Phillies this year, and this is an important stat for us to go with McCullers in Houston tonight. Against Philly this year, 1 start. He lost, but he pitched very well. 6 innings, 6 runs, 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 Ks. And the home road splits for Lance are not in his favor tonight. But I'm looking at length, being able to go deep in the game, career postseason resume. I'm looking at all that stuff. But the home road splits are not in his favor. On the road, he's got a 3.57 ERA. At home, he's got a 1.50 ERA. So, I mean, but again, 3.57, right? We can work with that. 1.50 at home is sparkling. And the bottom line is I trust Lance McCullers. I believe in Lance McCullers. I have seen him win it all. I have seen him excel while winning it all. Okay. So there's a level of trust I have with him over Suarez, and if it were over Noah Syndergaard. I believe that there's a pretty significant pitching advantage for Houston tonight when you put Suarez up against Lance McCullers. I almost feel like I'm stating the obvious saying that, but we're trying to make money here, and I'm trying to convince you that the Astros is the side to go with. Obviously, don't bet your life savings on it or anything like that. You know how that goes, but this is where my mind is at tonight. Now, we are with Lance McCullers running into a buzzsaw, a.k.a. the Philadelphia Phillies lineup. It's a buzzsaw. Check this stat out. The Phillies are undefeated at home in the playoffs, where they will play tonight. They're 5-0, and they're averaging 7 runs per game. at home in the playoffs. They have a run advantage in those 5 games of 35-15. They're running away and hiding from teams at home in these playoffs. Plus 20 in 5 home games. These numbers are stupid, man. They don't make sense. The Astros also have a good nugget for them coming in. They're undefeated on the road in these playoffs. They won out in Seattle. They won in New York. They're undefeated in this circumstance as well. So, but McCullers against that Phillies lineup is the whole story of this game, because Houston's going to get to Suarez. They're going to get to the bullpen tonight, I believe. Not 7-8 runs. I don't know, but they're going to get to him. I don't think it's going to be a bagel or a one in the Houston run column tonight. So let's talk about the series, okay? Who to play on the World Series, because folks were tied at 1. So it's basically a 5-game series right now. So you have the opportunity to still go in on Houston. It's not like the numbers are so crazy. Oh my God, it's cost prohibitive. I would never do that. Well, you can't. And you still have a couple of minutes to do that before the game begins. By the way, let me pop it over to Fox right here. I got TNT on with the Bulls and Nets, talking with you guys, having a blast here on Bettor Sports Network. Our show is Bettor Sports Live. All right, they're doing the pregame pomp and circumstance. We don't pregame. We don't pregame. I got more to do than watch a pregame. Any old way, series prediction here. You know I'm already on Houston, right? So I'm still on Houston. I've always been on Houston. I'm not getting off of Houston. Houston right now to win the World Series. It, not just tonight, the World Series, is a minus 175. Bang it. Hit it. Philly is a plus 145. Okay? I'm not on the Philly side. I'm on the Houston side. And we're not at a plus 200. We're not at a plus 190. Pardon me, minus 200 or minus 190. We're at minus 175. I like it. I liked it better when the Astros were coming off of the game 1 loss, which I predicted. I knew Verlander wasn't going to get it done in that game. And I do like that the Astros are planning on Verlander to start in a Philly game. Why not? He sucks. Why not put him at Philly and let him get thrashed, and we'll play a guy we feel like we have an advantage at home. Any old way, I'm on Houston to win the series here at a minus 175. And games like these are why I picked Houston. Literally, this game is why I picked Houston. Their pitching is so much deeper than Philadelphia's. So much deeper. Like, Philly could be going with Luis Garcia right now, right? How much better would you feel about, forget about the home run the other night. Look at Luis Garcia's body of work this year. Him versus Ranger Suarez, it's no contest. All right? He would be starting tonight for the Phillies if they had Luis Garcia. Jose Urquidy might even be starting in this scenario. Hunter Brown might even be starting in this scenario. After Nola and Wheeler, who I will explain in a minute, it's time to worry about Zach Wheeler, folks. But after Nola and Wheeler, there's a huge drop-off. We're seeing that drop-off tonight with Ranger Suarez. The Astros will never have a lackluster starter on the mound. We can talk about Justin Verlander's World Series numbers, okay, but I mean, he's not a lackluster starter. The Astros almost have too much pitching. I projected the Astros to win the series knowing that JB was going to suck in 2 of his starts. I built that in. Baked it right in there. Like a tiramisu. But I believe that when we get deeper in the rotations like we are tonight, that's super advantage Houston. I also believe that Houston's bullpen is better than Philadelphia's bullpen. They're both good. They are. I like them both. That's why they're here. Got to have a good bullpen to make the World Series and win it. But I'll take Houston's bullpen just a little bit over Philly's. And check this out. I found some really good intel about the Phillies and the pitching arrangements going forward in this World Series. I found it on NBC Sports. A Phillies insider by the name of Jim Salisbury. And I really enjoyed this article. And I want to read some stuff from. I don't usually do this, right? This is my content I'm giving to you. And so I want to give him full credit and say NBC Sports. But I can't write it better than he did, so I want to drop this on you. He writes, Suarez helped the Phillies win game 1, pitched 2/3 of an inning in relief. After that 11-pitch outing, the Phillies decided to push him back from his scheduled game 3 start to have him start game 4. Monday's rain out allowed Suarez to make the game 3 start instead of Thor. I am putting some of my own words in here, but Nola will start game 4 on Wednesday. Syndergaard will start game 5 on Thursday, unless he's needed in relief in games 3 or 4. Okay, I am glad I read that part right there, because remember my confusion a minute ago. Are we going to get Suarez and then Syndergaard? So Syndergaard may go tonight. Again, this is great intel from NBC Sports. Jim writes, in that case, Kyle Gibson, who pitched 1 1/3 innings in the last 30 days will get the call. Do you see what I'm saying about how screwed the Phillies are? Are you serious that you might have to start Kyle freaking Gibson in a game 5 scenario? Are you serious? How is that going to work against the Houston Astros? Please help me understand how that's going to work. NBC Sports writes, Phillies' adjusted pitching rotation served as confirmation that staff ace Zach Wheeler is experiencing an issue with his right arm. Da, da, da. Why isn't this larger news? I'm going to go to ESPN.com's baseball page right now because I did earlier. I saw nothing about this. Ladies and gentlemen, does that raise a red flag to you in any way, shape, or form that Zach Wheeler, his velo was down in the previous game? And no headline at all. Nothing. Like the government covering up a secret. Nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't understand. I don't understand why this isn't a bigger story. I really don't. How is that not a headline? Zach Wheeler may have arm trouble. We're in the World Series, yo. He's arguably the best pitcher on either side in the World Series. And there's a report from ABC Sports that he's experiencing an issue with his right arm. Sorry, I'm sounding alarms. I don't understand why more people aren't. I really don't. And NBC Sports writes the velocity of his fastball was noticeably down. His next start had been scheduled for Friday, which initially would have been Game 6. Monday's rainout would have allowed the Phils to move Wheeler up a day and pitch on the customary 4 days rest in Game 5 on Thursday. NBC Sports writes that won't happen. Wheeler will remain the Game 6 starter, and with that game now scheduled for Saturday, he will pitch 2 more days of rest than normal, if that game is even played, writes NBC Sports. I still believe that game will be played, but to his point, maybe Houston just does him in right here and it's over. Or maybe he's thinking as a Phillies insider that the Phillies win 3 in a row here. Nevertheless, I believe we're going long in this series. I do. Because of the Phillies bats. You're just not going to buzzsaw them 3 straight games in their yard. It's just, that's not going to happen. We're going to go at least 6 in this series. So Rob Thompson talked about Zach Wheeler and said, quote, he's fine. It's late in the season. Velocity's dropped a little bit. He's fatigued. I just feel like he needs more time. Yeah, right. Nice job. Nice sell job right there. I ain't buying that. I'll tell you when I will buy that. When I see Zach Wheeler on the mound throwing 95 miles per hour, low in the zone, painting the black and getting dudes out. That's when I'll believe that. Late in the season, remember Adam Wainwright? A lot of you fantasy baseball players, he had the arm fatigue. He was getting murdered on the mound. After a great year, his overall numbers suck now because of how bad he was in September. And obviously he's older than Wheeler, but we're talking about arm fatigue, okay? My last example of a guy having arm fatigue was Adam Wainwright, and it went awfully down the stretch. Am I supposed to expect different tonight with Zach Wheeler? Okay. Or pardon me, in this series with Zach Wheeler? I mean, no, I'm not. Oh, by the way, NBC Sports writes, Suarez on the mound right now getting his warm-up pitches in. We're about to have the first pitch of Game 3 of the World Series. I'm on the Stros tonight. I'm on the Stros to win the series. Giddy up, bang it, let's go. But NBC Sports writes that Zach Wheeler missed a month late in the regular season with right elbow inflammation. After his loss in Game 2, Wheeler said his elbow was fine. The pitcher was not available for comment on Monday. They put a muzzle on him. They don't want him answering questions about his right arm. That's why. NBC Sports also writes about the Astros setup here, that Christian Javier will oppose Nola in Game 4. That's tomorrow night. And Justin Verlander will start against Syndergaard or Gibson in Game 5 on Thursday night. And again, I love that. It doesn't matter if Verlander is at home or away. He's going to get drilled. It's a World Series game. So send him to the shredder in Philadelphia and don't waste a horse bleep Verlander start at home, especially in a Game 6 or Game 7. You're going to want McCullers and Framber Valdez would be on the mound in Game 6. Against Wheeler, if he can go and how long he can go and all those questions are in play. And then Game 7 would be Lance McCullers for Houston, who, of course, is going here tonight. Again, this is why I love Houston to win this series. they have, to me, Philly at checkmate when it comes to starting pitching. And we've always known this. This is not new news. This is not a new vibe from me. It was my vibe before the playoffs. I didn't know Houston was going to match up with Philly in the World Series, but I said their rotation, their deep bullpen is a major advantage over every team in these playoffs. Over the Yankees, over the Dodgers, over the Braves, over every single team in these playoffs. Nobody has the staff that Houston has. Nobody. Why wouldn't they win it all? Especially because they have a really good hitting lineup as well. Not quite as good as Philadelphia's, but you get my drift here. So I will provide you just a little bit of play-by-play here. And we'll take a break, and we'll come back. And I want to get back to the NFL trade deadline. First pitch of Game 3 is swung on and driven to right field. It's low, and it's a nice catch by Nick Castellanos. Just like the end, pardon me, not the end, but the bottom of the ninth in Game 1, when Pena blooped it out there, and Altuve was going to come around from second base and score, and Nick Castellanos is pointing to the crowd right now. They're going crazy in Philadelphia. He's pointing to the crowd like, yeah, the love fest is on. They're back in Philly. And so Nick Castellanos made that catch of Pena to send it to the 10th inning, and that's where, of course, JT Realmuto put it over the seats in right field, and they won the game by that one run. But if Nick Castellanos doesn't catch that ball, it's like 2-0 Houston right now, and we're facing a quasi-death game here for Philadelphia. So pretty cool, right? First pitch of the game, we had history repeating itself with Castellanos making he was coming in, and it was just like not a diving catch, but a shoestring catch where you kind of slide, put the glove out, and grab it. Really, really nice catch there by Castellanos. And we are underway in the World Series in Game 3. We also have prop bets in play on the NBA. We got all kinds of stuff going on. But when I come back, I want to get into the NFL trade deadline here. And we already talked about the Claypool trade to Chicago. I freaking love it. They finally got some help for Justin Fields. TJ Hawkinson to the Minnesota Vikings. I love it for the Vikings. Any futures you have with them, you should feel way better about that. I can't tell you to go play Viking futures right now because I know that their future involves Kirk Cousins choking in a big game and or playoff environment. Knock yourself out. If you want to go ahead and do that, I am not recommending that. I've seen too much of Kirk Cousins. I've seen too much of the Vikings. This is why I'm no longer a fan of theirs. Okay. I'm divorced from this team because of their choky, systemic, historic suctitude. So we will come back on Bettor Sports Network on November 1st, on the day that Steve Nash got whacked by the Nets, and talk about Bradley Chubb and my homie, Jeffrey Wilson, going to the Miami Dolphins, who just might win the Super Bowl. You're hanging with Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live.
It's Moose and Keith with Mark Malusis and Keith Irizarry.
Moose and Keith with you. Let's welcome aboard right now, Iron Eagle.
One of the great stories that I have from doing notes on a plane, and you always get people looking over. They see color-coded uniform numbers, names, height, weight, age, background, hometown. And I had a woman sitting next to me on a flight, and I'm doing my notes, and she's kind of giving the look, then looking. And I can tell she's looking. And then finally, she'll say, so what is it that you do? Well, what do you think I do? She said, are you a wedding planner? I said, yes. I said, I have to put Rob Gronkowski at Tom Brady's table. I said, you know what? You're not correct, but it's the best answer I've ever heard.
That's great.
Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media.
Fox Fantasy Life Fantasy Executive. It's going to be a football life. The fantasy executive is probably going to be the best football life ever.
We'll be the guest. Everyone who was on yesterday, basically.
Yeah, everybody that's on yesterday will be the guest. Scott Engel, you know what I'm saying? Adam Rodas. Yeah, everybody, those people. Because what Nando, obviously you'll be there. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to the GST and shoot some scenes. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be nice.
We'll shoot some scenes in Midtown Manhattan. Antonio Brown can be on my football life,
That'd
right?
Be nice.
Because that's a big part of my come up as a fantasy analyst. Everybody, the football life, the fantasy executive is going to be for the people. When they do the football life on the fantasy executive, I'm going to be hands on.
Good. Yeah. You talking to you.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Cheetos or Doritos?
I truly love both. Cool Ranch Doritos.
Wow.
I grew up on Cheetos. I was a big Chester Cheetah guy.
Oh, nice.
But Ray, as I have aged into adulthood, I've moved away from the fun that is the Cheeto, and I've gone to the, more cosmopolitan Cool Ranch Dorito chip. So I'm probably a Cool Ranch guy. How about you?
I would go Doritos. I don't like Cool Ranch. The traditional, original, regular, whatever it is really good. But my favorite's actually the sweet chili, the purple bag. Oh, it's delicious. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The one that sucks, and I think we can all agree on this one, taco.
Yeah.
I know a lot of things, and I'm perfect at a lot of things. My Dorito trivia is a little shaky.
Okay.
A little shaky. But I think taco is the first flavor.
All right, we're back on Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla. We are Bettor Sports Network, and I want you to hang in there. We are an hour away, 50 minutes away, actually, from our giveaway of the night. Garrett Wilson, 9 o'clock Eastern. We will be giving away an autographed, full-sized Jets helmet. Not one of the little mini joints. Full-size helmet. Put it behind you on your little Zoom thing. It look great. Put it anywhere you want, but it's an actual helmet. It's going to be a real keepsake for you, man, if you win it. Here's what you got to do to win it. You got to like and retweet the Wilson post. Go to @Bettor Network. That's with an O in Bettor. And like it and retweet it. And that then makes you eligible, okay? And you must have the Bettor Sports Network app downloaded in order to win. That's it. None of this, must be 18 years old. Like none of that, like big voice guy coming in here stuff. Like and retweet the Wilson post with the helmet. Pretty easy. Like it, retweet it. It'll take you a grand total of 1 second to do that. You must have the Bettor Sports Network app downloaded to win. That's it. Giddy up. Let's go. Get a Garrett Wilson signed helmet, full-size helmet, coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Right around the corner, we will welcome in Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com. And we're going to reminisce a little bit. We'll talk about, obviously, the NFL and all the trades going down. And that's where we are right about now with your boy Cam, because we've gotten the NBA props out. We have gotten, our Major League Baseball predictions here. And now it's time to go back to the NFL trade deadline and chop that up. And I freaking love what the Dolphins have done here. I really do. Getting Teron Armstead in the offseason, getting Tyreek Hill in the offseason. Like, they're going for it, man. Didn't the Rams just show us that this formula can work? And the Dolphins are trying to, basically copycat what the Rams are doing here. Bleep them picks. We're going for it right now. And so they get Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos and a 2025 fifth-round pick. They give up Chase Edmonds, your guy, not mine, a 2024 fourth-round pick, and San Francisco's 2023 first-round pick. So Bradley Chubb netted a first-round pick. How about that? I do think Miami overspent on Brad a little bit, but this is what you got to do. It's what you have to give to get. And Bradley Chubb is having a monster year, and you had to overpay a little bit to get him. Again, first round, Christian McCaffrey didn't have a first round pick, but Bradley Chubb does. That's a little weird to me. And you give him back a fifth round pick, right? So I look at Miami to me, I do like for them getting back that fifth 3 years from now, but they gave up a first. Any old way, that's on them, not us. Our job is we analyze like valuation of trades and stuff like that. To me, it's a little bit of an overpay for Bradley Chubb, a little bit, but they're in go for it mode, and I get it. Chubb gives them a monster off the edge now. Exactly what Miami needs. Check this out. Did you know that Miami is one of the worst pass rush teams in the NFL? They have 15 sacks in 8 games. It's in the bottom, third of the NFL. They're 20th, right, in terms of getting sacks. They're not good. They need help in that area. Bradley Chubb, likely to get a long-term extension here with the Miami Dolphins. Why else would you make this trade, giving up a first-round pick? They have plans to pay Bradley Chubb. And Miami has roughly $18 million in free cap space for 2023 per over the cap. So they have room to pay him and keep him a part of their plan for a long time to come. I'll get to the Jeff Wilson side of this in a minute because I love that get for Miami as well. But let me just throw out some quick betting advice right here. I know y'all perked up. Betting advice. Ooh, a chance to make money. A future bet idea from my boy Cam. Lay it on me. I want you to throw some money on Miami at plus 2,900 to win the World Series. Pardon me, the Super Bowl. I just looked up and saw McCullers throwing a pitch to Hoskins. And sorry. Plus 2,900 to win the Super Bowl. What's not to love? I mean, put $100 on that. Put $20 on that. The return on that? Are you kidding me? $100 could net you like $3,000. What? For the Dolphins? The Dolphins are amazing. Like, I know their record isn't amazing, like Minnesota at 6-1 or like Buffalo, but damn, have you watched Tua and Hill and Waddle? These guys, when they're cooking, are unstoppable. Kind of like Burrow and Higgins and Chase last year on their way to the Super Bowl, right? And again, plus 2,900. And think about this. We got to do some envisioning and some imagining, like with stuff like this, right? It's a future bet. You've got to like see the future a little bit. Can you see Mike McDaniel holding court and being super, super popular and a media darling at the Super Bowl? Or is it just me? With the oversized glasses that he wears, and he's got kind of this like cool, nerdy persona, right? Like he's quirky and sarcastic and really smart. I like Mike McDaniel. I like him a lot. I just like his style. I like funny people. I like people like the press conference that he stopped a week or so ago. And just to like make a joke or something, I forget what I saw it on Twitter, but he like stopped the president before we get started here, guys. And he just like kind of went off on some stuff. I think that's awesome. Like, I just like his outlook on life. Seems like a really, really cool guy. And I could see him absolutely turning into a media darling at the Super Bowl. Okay. I can already see it. Miami's DST, by the way, their defensive special teams is about to be gnarly. Gnarly with Bradley Chubb. So if they're on waivers this week and like you're just tired of your defense or your defense is on bye or something like that, pick up Miami's defense now that they got Bradley Chubb. It is Rick Campbell here on Bettor Sports Live. Around the corner, we will have Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com. The Dolphins have gotten my guy, Jeff Wilson. Oh, am I excited about this? San Fran was a road to nowhere for my guy, Jeff Wilson. And you know the story by now, in a dynasty league that's IDP creating a monopoly on the 49ers' backs through the orchestration of 3 trades for Elijah Mitchell, for Tyrion Davis-Price, and for Jeff Wilson, all this offseason. Boom, Christian McCaffrey comes to town. My plans flushed down the toilet. Kind of, sort of not anymore in that league because Jeff Wilson is now a Dolphin. He now has a realistic pathway to playing time. And he has been very good this year, okay? Every game that he gets significant touches, he busts a long run. Every game. 50-yarder, a 30-yarder, something like that. He does it all the time. It's kind of like what he does. He's averaging 5.1 yards per carry, and he's at 468 yards on the year and 92 carries. And obviously with Christian McCaffrey there, bye-bye. Grab some pine. You're going to be a special teamer and all this kind of stuff. Wilson now reunites with Mike McDaniel and Raheem Mostert, who were together in San Fran for a few years. All right. And again, this is what coaches do. They have players they trust, players they know, and they go back and get them. He did with Mostert, and McDaniel now is doing it with Wilson. And I love it. I want to read you what Roto-World had to say here. They said Wilson has a chance to serve as the immediate backup to Mostert and would have top 24 upside should Mostert ever miss time. I don't necessarily agree with that analysis piece right there. I don't think that Jeff Wilson's going to ride in on a horse and say, I'm the new sheriff in town and suddenly get 15 to 20 carries and Mostert has 5 carries. Not right away, but I could see it evolving into a timeshare. I believe that we will have a timeshare with the Miami running backs. Mike McDaniel out in San Fran, what did they run? They ran a multiple backfield. Why don't they run a multiple backfield in Miami? Why is Mostert taking a job from Edmonds? It's because Edmonds is an overrated piece of fantasy garbage. I'm tired of hearing about this guy. Chase Edmonds. The guy stinks. Can't stay healthy. He's not that good. Why do you think he's bouncing around and can't find a home? And now he's with damn Denver. Tired of hearing about this guy. If somebody said, man, I think Chase Edmonds is a sleeper next year, like, move on to the next football analyst. I mean, for real. I'm just done. I'm tired of it. And so now Wilson goes to Miami, and he is way better than Chase Edmonds. Way better. He is going to make this a split backfield. And if Mostert gets dinged, then I could see Wilson becoming the guy and a 15 to 20 carry guy, which he's been very good at when healthy at San Fran. This is bad news for Mostert owners, managers, I should say. You know, as a flex guy, maybe he's been in your lineup. You're in a really deep league, and this is bad news for Mostert because he now has competition for touches. You might not feel it right away, right? As Mostert, Wilson gets with his new team and gets acclimated and all that kind of stuff. But eventually I see this becoming a timeshare, and it's ultimately going to be bad news for Raheem Mostert down there in Miami. But love what Miami did today. To me, they're the biggest winners of the trade deadline in the National Football League. The Ravens I'd put up there too, getting Roquan Smith. Love that move. Now the Bears, right? I think they're winners getting Chase Claypool. I love that trade, but the Bears aren't going to the playoffs. The Bears aren't really in this. They're just making a nice trade to help out their quarterback. I'm talking about in terms of winners, we're talking about go for it teams. The Ravens are going for it, but more specifically, the Dolphins are going for it. All right, let's try to talk about a couple more of these trades before we bring on Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com. The Jaguars acquired Calvin Ridley from the Falcons for 2 future conditional draft selections. And I'll explain that in a minute. Actually, right now. The structure of the trade is basically based on if Ridley can play, when can he play, how long can he play, how well can he play. Ian Rappaport reports that Ridley will fetch either a 5th or a 6th round pick in 2023, depending on when he is reinstated to the league. Jacksonville will also send a 2024 2nd, 3rd, or 4th pick to Atlanta, depending on if he makes the team, reaches a playing time threshold, or signs a long-term extension. So hold up on determining the draft compensation for Calvin Ridley. It's all tied into all of these stipulations that I just talked about. As you know, Calvin Ridley, oh my God, Bryce Harper just hit an 800-foot home run. No doubt about it. Boosh! And it is 2-0 Phillies. And I'm telling you right now, they are going bananas in Philly. And Lance McCullers is like wincing. That one hurt. That one stung his baseball soul. Bryce Harper, man. Last night, we gave away a Bryce Harper signed baseball. It's a Bryce Harper on it. Andrew Elmquist won that ball. Tonight, you're going to win a Garrett Wilson signed full-size Jets helmet, man. That's what we do. We're Bettor Sports Network. Yeah, that's what we do. That's 9 o'clock Eastern time. Garrett Wilson, the rookie for the Jets. And I'll sing you a song about him and how much I really enjoy his work. In the future he's got coming up. This is going to be a nice collectible for you tonight. Because Garrett Wilson, I see doing very, very big things in the NFL. And the value of this signed full-size Jets helmet is going to rise with every touchdown. But Calvin Ridley is a Jaguar. He's suspended for the season, which I think is garbage. He gambled or did some gambling stuff. I forget even what it was. But Deshaun Watson does what he allegedly did and gets 11 games, and Calvin Ridley gets the whole season. Does that make any sense to anybody? Does that make any sense to anybody? Doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, that complaint aside, this is great dynasty news for Calvin Ridley. He had to get out of Atlanta, folks. He reportedly wanted to get out of Atlanta, and boom, here you go. You're now in the beautiful state of Florida with no state tax and a lot of beauty everywhere you look down here. So good for him. Next year, the Jaguars are going to have Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. I like it. I like it a lot. And I like what the Jaguars are doing here. They're building around their franchise quarterback. They're giving him a full opportunity to show what he can do. And if they build a great team around him and he sucks, well, then they can make the determination that they messed up the draft pick. But how will you know you messed up the draft pick if he doesn't have guys to throw to where you can see the sort of expanse of his exploits? build around your franchise quarterback. It's not that hard. Okay? The Bears, the Chase Claypool trade today. I love it. Finally, they're building around their quarterback. The Green Bay Packers might want to get with this whole premise. It's kind of important to give your quarterback people to throw to, okay? Kind of important. But Aaron Rodgers, of course, he's Superman, and he doesn't need anybody to throw to because he can throw the football and run and catch it himself. So he doesn't need wide receivers. He's just got himself. That's how the Packers look at the Aaron Rodgers thing. And, of course, the team is completely dilapidating, but how much better would they be if they had better weapons? And think about Jacksonville and their construction here. You've got Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram. I'm not sure of his contractual status, but he scored last week, and he is a talented guy. Maybe you get a better tight end, whatever. But Lawrence, Etienne, Kirk, and Ridley, you have my attention. That is a badass QB run wide set right there. It really is. Now, it won't come into play until next year. But Calvin Ridley is a Jaguar, and I like that move a lot. So one more trade here to talk about, and we're going to bring up Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com in just a moment. The Colts acquired Zach Moss and a conditional 2023 sixth-round pick for Nyheim Hines. All right, so Nyheim Hines is going to the Bills. Zach Moss is going to the Colts. And this is a very interesting fantasy move right here based on the running back rooms that it will impact. And it has more impact on the Bills' running back room than it does on the Colts running back room. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is the guy there, and he's having a miserable career year theory type of year. But I like this move for Buffalo. Their backs aren't good enough. They're getting a true pass-catching back right now for Josh Allen and Nyheim Hines. And I like the move. And for the Indianapolis Colts, I kind of don't understand it. Like, are we talking about tank mode here? Is that what we're doing here in Indianapolis? You curbed Matt Ryan like OKC did with Al Horford a couple of years ago. You basically curbed him for Sam Ehlinger. Did you watch Sam Ehlinger against the Commanders on Sunday? This dude ain't ready for prime time. I like him. I like Sam Ehlinger. I do. And he's going to get better as we go along here. But, Indy came into that game at 3-3-1. Still relevant, still in it. Now they're 3-4-1 and on their way, wherever they're going. But this feels real tanky from the Indianapolis Colts. Zach Moss, how does he fit in your plans? Deion Jackson is killing it, by the way, as Jonathan Taylor's backup. And Zach Moss, has he ever killed it in Buffalo? Ever? So I don't understand other than a tanky type of scenario. And again, maybe Nyheim Hines is coming up and he's got to get paid. He's going to be a free agent, so they got to bail on him before that. But it's a talent downgrade. I know that for Indianapolis. I would rather have Nyheim Hines on my team than I'd rather have Nyheim Hines than Zach Moss. But it's an interesting trade. And what it does is I got a little waiver wire list right here. A little bit later on the show, we'll get to this. We may tackle a little bit of this with Paul Charchian coming up here in a minute. But any excitement that you might have had for James Cook, the rookie out of Georgia for Buffalo, go ahead and flush that. Now that they got Nyheim Hines, you can go ahead and flush that. James Cook, he will be a special teamer, and he will be planted to the bench unless somebody gets hurt, God forbid. But they're not trading for Nyheim Hines to be a pass-catching back and to be that sort of augment guy to Devin Singletary and then play James Cook over him. And you say, well, Cam, I like James Cook. Why did they make this trade? Hey, man, ask Buffalo that. Don't ask me that, right? James Cook to me would have been a nice compliment to Devin Singletary going forward. But see, now what you've done, you've also built in depth for Buffalo. And what does Buffalo think they're doing this year? Winning the Super Bowl, which means winning a bunch more games, which means playing all the way to February, which means you subject your running back room to more injury, more potential injury. So what if one of their guys goes down, right? Singletary, God forbid, or Hines then you've got James Cook. And so now they've got a deeper running back room. And trust me, Nyheim Hines is an upgrade over Zach Moss. There is absolutely no question about that. So I like the move for Buffalo, trying to address really the weakest part of their team, which is the running back room. Now, how about a trade that did not happen? Brandon Cooks. My God, my phone was blowing up all day. Back when I was in Houston, I set up some kind of a notification thing on the Texans, and frankly, I don't know how the hell to undo it. So I get all this Texans news. coming at me. I used to do radio in Houston on the home of the Houston Texans, where that news was rather valuable to me. And we had to come up with an entire 4-hour per day show on the Texans. How did I do it? First of all, I had a co-host who ate up a lot of the time, but I honestly have no idea how we got through those shows. Literally talking Houston Texans football for 4 straight hours. So you say you want to get into sports talk radio. By the way, Ranger Suarez gets a grounder here from Kyle Tucker, and he down, and it's now 2 outs for the Astros. It's 2-0 Phillies right now on the strength of a bomb by Bryce Harper. I mean, again, the ball still hasn't landed. Off his bat, it was like, whoa, that's way out of here. But Brandon Cooks was not traded, and really all of us thought that he would be traded. And so let me read what Roto World wrote here. He was able to like several tweets leading up to the trade deadline that speculated he might be moved. He also posted a pitch-perfect Denny Carter impersonation after the trade deadline passed with him still on the team. I don't know what that means. We're not entirely sure, or Roto World writes, blah, 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 blah. Oh, they write, we're not entirely sure if Cooks will play or not in week 9. So there's that. And so Brandon Cooks apparently is pissed about not being traded. Will he show up and be a good soldier and play out the year? I think he will. And I think he will play in week 9. What is he going to take his ball and go home and the team suspends him and he doesn't get paid? Give me a break. He's pissed. He'll get over it and he'll show up and play for the Texans. Now, if you are a manager of Brandon Cooks, this is bad news because you would have wanted him in a new spot as opposed to Davis Mills down in Houston. But I don't know what that means. A pitch perfect Denny Carter impersonation. I don't even know what those words strung together mean. We have Paul Charch in right now with GuillotineLeagues.com, hanging out with Rick Kamla here on Bettor Sports Network. Charch, my good friend, what is going on? And welcome to Bettor Sports Live. How you doing, my friend?
Good. It's nice to be on second time now. I don't know. Am I leading the pack? I mean, I was on your first show, and now I'm back. A month later. Does that make me? Am I the winner?
You are one of the leaders in the clubhouse. I will put it that way. You will. We love having you on, and we'll certainly have you on more, Charch, going forward here. So let's talk about the trade deadline.
Yeah, crazy, right? All the stuff that happened. Holy cow. We had 20 trades in the last week. Unbelievable. I mean, that never happens in the NFL.
So I was literally going to ask you that. I'm a big NBA guy and a big NFL guy, but I freaking love, I'm a nerd for the NBA trade deadline. And yeah. I've got depth. I've got a spreadsheet for every team, and I go and change out. They traded 3 guys out. They brought 2 guys in. How's the new depth chart going to look? Who's going to get more minutes? Who's the odd man out? All this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I love doing it. And so I've never been able to do this with the NFL until now. Charch, so you think it's unprecedented? I think it's unprecedented. Why do you think now we are getting so much activity at the NFL trade deadline versus years prior?
So I'll tell you exactly why. If you go back about 4 years ago, when there were still like 2 trades, right? That was it. Bill Belichick made 2 trades by himself. And when Belichick did it, everyone went, oh, it must be okay to do it because Belichick's doing it. And that kicked open the door. And we've seen every year, we've seen more and more trading and a bigger willingness to do that. And then that's part 1. And then part 2 is the Rams really showed people that maybe you don't need all those draft picks. Maybe, that whole concept around, that 3rd round draft pick is so valuable, we can't do without that. Maybe that's a bunch of BS because we're probably going to flub that pickup anyway. So, I think the Rams showing a way to get to Super Bowls without draft picks has made it so that teams, like the Vikings, that, they moved 2 picks today that I don't think they would have done in previous years had the Rams not paved the way for that.
That's a great take. And we talked earlier a little bit about F-dem picks. And I mirrored Miami, Charch, and we'll circle back to Hawkinson. We'll circle back to Claypool. But since you went there, right, Miami is basically going Les Snead on the bit and trading for Bradley Chubb, trading for my guy, Jeff Wilson, who now has a pathway to some playing time, maybe a lot of playing time versus none in San Fran. But Charch, I was telling the people that, we're fantasy, we're betting, we're collectibles over here. I love the Miami Dolphins at a plus 2,900 to win the Super Bowl. 100 gets you basically $3,000 on the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl. And Church, I know you're watching, and I'm watching. Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, aren't they kind of sort of looking unstoppable?
Well, the defense hasn't looked good, but here's the thing. They can outscore anybody in any game. That's the part that makes you go, maybe. So they're going to get – Dolphins are going to get in the playoffs. And if they were in the NFC, they'd be like the 2 seed in the NFC, right? But they could outscore anybody they go up against, even the Bills. I mean, if it turned into a shootout with the Bills, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, if whether it's Mostert or Wilson, somebody gets hot. Mostert got hot 2 years ago down the stretch, and the 49ers went to the Super Bowl on his running. It can be done. I kind of like that take at those odds just because of that factor. Miami could outscore anybody in any game.
All they need is defense. They're allowing 24 points per game right now. They're giving up way too many yards. I don't have that number in front of me, but it's on the wrong side. It's in the bottom half of the NFL. They're a weak pass rush team. They've got 15 sacks in 8 games. I'm not a Chase Edmonds guy. I'm not. People continue. No. He's a sleeper. He's a sleeper. He's a sleeper. No, he's asleep. Okay. And so you get Jeff Wilson to help the running back room. Like, I freaking love what Miami has done here today. But Charge, I know to this day you're still a big Viking fan. You know that I'm divorced and no longer am. But TJ Hawkinson is and it doesn't matter, Charge. You could put the Vikings in the sexiest negligee with the nicest makeup, and you could take them to a doctor and get a full makeover and plastic surgery. And damn, look at that body. And I am not going back. Okay, I am out on the Minnesota Vikings. But TJ Hawkinson is a Viking. Talk to me about that.
Well, this was an area of need for the Vikings. The offense has been okay, not great, and they were getting no production out of Irv Smith. They drafted Irv Smith 2019, 1 pick before A.J. Brown.
Yuck.
Oops.
That's
Yuck.
some Belichick shite.
Oh, man, is that bad. And, that guy never worked out. Injury, immaturity, a lot of problems. The overall talent level wasn't high enough. And then, you get an opportunity to get TJ Hawkinson. It takes most tight ends about 3 years to round into form and really become who they're going to be. Mark Andrews, there's lots of examples. That's about where Hawkinson is. You're getting a 25-year-old 1,000-yard tight end on a team that was getting virtually no production out of that position. And at 6-1, the Vikings are going for it. NFC's wide open, as I alluded to before. You got one great team and a bunch of other teams that are just playing to try to host a couple of playoff games and, just get to the playoffs. And the Vikings could be that 2 seed, very possibly. Hawkinson helps them. And they didn't have to give up a king's ransom. It was they got a second and they gave a second and a fourth. They got a fourth and a fourth or something like that. They moved down a couple of rounds to get TJ Hawkinson. Done deal. I like it.
Yeah, it is. I like it. And I've told the people, by the way, Ranger Suarez just got out of a jam here. They had 1st and 3rd with 2 outs, and he had a beautiful pitch to get McCormick with a called 3rd strike. So we're 2-0 Phillies over Astros here in the World Series. In Charge, it was the Vikings got Hawkinson a 4th and a conditional 4th, and they gave up a 2nd and a 3rd. And I talked about I like the draft pick valuation that Minnesota got as well. You give up a 2, you give up a 3, but you got back 4s, so you will be represented. And you won't be like down a pick in those drafts. It'll be later, but they will have picks in those drafts, and you get Hawkinson out of the deal. Now, let me ask you this, because I've got Hawkinson in a few leagues. I'm not like super invested in him, but I do have some shares of Hawkinson. And I do not look at this as, ooh, Hawkinson's a Viking. I look at this as, ooh, Hawkinson's got a share now with Jefferson and Thielen and Cook, and Osborne caught the game-winning touchdown against Arizona, right? I'm not saying that the sky is falling, but I don't look at this as a positive for TJ Hawkinson's fantasy value. How about you?
It's a lateral move. The Vikings don't need to pass as often. Lions are passing a lot out of necessity, if nothing else. But he goes to a more competent offense that's got presumably longer drives and more scoring opportunities than what the Lions had put together. I think it's a lateral move, Rick. He had been a hit and miss guy, in Detroit. It's going to be that way too. Jefferson will always get his, but Thielen and the rest of the group is, they have hot and cold games, and TJ's just going to make a move. I don't think it changes a lot, honestly. You could sell on the buzz if you wanted to.
Look, And like I said, I look at it as really a push or a wash, however you want to put it. I agree with you. I think it's a lateral move. If I had to, like, if Cam, is he going up or down? I would say he's going down a little bit if you like really push me on it, but I think it's basically a lateral move. Now, one more ripple effect of this. Well, let me ask you this. I'll give you an opinion and then ask you a question. I believe that Adam Thielen, who looks older and older by the week, that this is not good news for him, having Hockenson come in there. And so that's just a take, and you can tell me what you think about that. Thielen obviously no longer sort of one of the it guys. Do you feel like TJ Hockenson will in any way eat into the targets that JJ gets?
No, not really JJ as much, because he kind of gets his. But I think it eats into the rest of the group, including Thielen. Then the big difference on Thielen this year is a couple things. One, his separation is way down. Statistical separation. He was a 3.5 yards of separation guy. Now he's at 2.5 yards per target separation. So that's down. So he's not getting the same separation. But the big thing on Thielen from a fantasy side is they just aren't targeting him in the red zone and inside the 10 and inside the 5 like they used to. The previous couple of years under Zimmer, that's what they had been doing. They're not doing that anymore. And TJ Hockenson now gives you a 6'5" end zone target. So that's not going to get any better for Thielen. And that's why I don't think I think the biggest effect here, ripple effect out of Hockenson coming to Minnesota, is that Thielen, in a already somewhat disappointing season, gets probably worse.
I love it. Paul Chart, teamleagues.com, is hanging out with Rick Gamble here on NFL Trade Day. Alec Bone has just gone 373-0, 3-0. Wow.
Wow.
It was the laser beam. It barely got above the left field. But 3-0 Phillies right now, game 3 of the series. I'll follow up on JJ real quick. Not on a trade charge, but he has not scored since Justin Jefferson. He is catching 15 balls and has not scored since week 1. What the hell?
Bad luck, mostly. And also, they don't target him as much inside the red zone as they should. I don't think so. That's certainly part of it. But you're right. Targets, with the target share this high, it will come. And here's the other thing about Jefferson that I think makes him great. Dude's trying to score on every damn play. There are so many plays when normal receivers are trotting out of bounds, and he's like, oh, the hell with that. I'm going for it. And, he's trying to make a play. His touchdowns will come back. And, I don't know that there's really a way to buy low on Justin Jefferson, but the no touchdown since week 1's peculiar, and it will come back. You can't put up 147 yards, 154 yards, 107 yards, 98 yards without scoring. That's going to come.
And some guys have these, I'm big on home road splits, right? When dissecting this stuff, and some guys, baseball comes to mind, not so much basketball, but football as well. You have first half guys and you have second half guys. It just works out that way. And it's not like Jefferson has sucked, but I see him as like that second half touchdown guy. Like I agree with you, Charch. He is going to get his in the second half of the season. Paul Charchi and GuillotineLeagues.com hanging out here with Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live. Got the World Series going. We got NBA games going on. We got the NFL trade deadline here. So, Charge, Chase Claypool is a Chicago Bear. And I just want to hit you with this.
Yeah.
You probably know this in case you don't. I'm a big Justin Fields guy. Loved him in college. A big believer in him. And what he brings to the football field, the tank body, the 4.4 speed, can throw the ball 70 yards. Like, the guy's a freak of nature. Okay. And so get him some talent. And they did. And so I love this move by the Chicago Bears.
Right. Because they need to evaluate Ryan Poles. I mean, he's jettisoning all these players, right? You gotta put yourself in a position. You walk out of this season and what you've got at the quarterback position in Justin Fields. And the best thing they're doing, I think, now is they're letting him run, and letting him be the multi-dimensional quarterback that he was always meant to be. 3 games ago, he got 12 rushes. The game after that, 14 rushes, only 6 last week, but they were way behind early to Dallas. So I don't think that's necessarily indicative, but that's what you need to do. I mean, look at what Daniel Jones has done when they've let him run the ball, and he's powered the Giants to a 6-2 record. You have to let these guys go be and do what they're meant to be. And the old wives' tale, Rick, about running your quarterback means he's going to get hurt. Well, Give me examples of that. These rushing quarterbacks, these big, beefy, strong quarterbacks, like Jalen Hurts isn't getting hurt. Josh Allen's not getting hurt. Justin Fields hasn't gotten hurt. And even Daniel Jones isn't getting hurt. These guys are not, it's not like it's knocking these guys out for half a season. These guys are staying healthy. So I love the move. They're going to get, they desperately needed somebody other than Darnell Mooney, who is, God love him, but he's not a number one receiver. They needed some help. And now you've got a big-bodied guy who can box out, and Justin Fields not exactly the most accurate passer in the world. He's got that big radius to pull in some of those errant throws as well. So Chase Claypool is going to be a real boon to that offense.
Charge, as you were explaining, the bigger quarterbacks to run, and Cam Newton fit that bill. And I know he had injuries later on in his career, right? The shoulder and all this kind of stuff, but I mean, damn, he made it many, many years, taking all the pounding he took at Auburn, winning a national championship, coming to the league, running 8, 10, 12 times a game. It wasn't a problem for Cam. So I'm with you right there. And, that takes me obviously to a huge pet peeve I have with the NFL and the NBA with load management and bubble wrapping these guys. And, the more they bubble wrap guys, the more these guys get hurt. Why? Because they're not playing. They're not in good enough shape, right? All the inactivity. It's just, it's so maddening, man. It's so freaking maddening, especially in the NFL. Like the NBA, I mean, Greg Popovich started it 20 damn years ago. Okay. Like the cat's out of the bag, but now we're seeing it in the NFL as well a little bit. And I don't like it. Charge, let's go to the waiver wire here a little bit.
Let's do it. We got a bunch of fascinating guys, and the waiver wire got turned upside down today with the trade deadline. Some of my favorite, I think Deion Jackson is now a potential league winning acquisition for your team. If you believe, like I do, that Jonathan Taylor, who's still on this bad ankle, if you think he's going to miss time later in the year, and Deion Jackson hauled in 10 catches 2 games ago.
Correct.
I think with Nyheim Hines getting shipped out, I think the reason they shipped him out is they like Deion Jackson just as much or better. I think he's a fascinating pickup and somebody I'm targeting in a bunch of my leagues. He got dropped everywhere in the last couple of weeks when Jonathan Taylor came back. I think there's a real scenario where Taylor at some point dips out early on this season. What's going to be a lost season for the Colts. And he's my favorite target for this week, I think.
Wow. And that is just outstanding analysis. I am so invested in Jonathan Taylor. Oh my God. I am so invested in Jonathan Taylor. I agree with everything you said. Like what is Indianapolis doing here? They have curbed Matt Ryan. That's a tanky move. They're going with Sam Ehlinger, who I do, but that's a tanky move. You traded Nyheim Hines away for Zach Moss. That's a tanky move. Everybody knows your offensive line is garbage. And I saw Taylor leave the damn field in the Houston game on Sunday, limping again.
Yes,
right? Limping again.
He can't get past this. They're gonna have they're gonna have to maybe rest him again. That's and then you wonder if it gets to Thanksgiving and he's just doing Jonathan Taylor's doing what he's doing right now. At some point they just shut him down and they go, we're not gonna. We'll see you next year. And Deion Jackson's a great long-term stash.
I like it, Church. I like where your head is at with that all the way. Now let's talk about Nyheim Hines going to Buffalo. I look at this as James Cook, and I actually have a waiver wire sheet as I'm going through box scores and reading it. I have a waiver yes and a waiver no. And James Cook was on my waiver yes side. What did he? Let me read this here. 6 carries, 35 yards. Caught 1 ball for 41 yards. And I thought, Charge, that coming out of the bye, that we would see James Cook be infused and we would not see Zach Moss anymore. We're done with that experiment. We got to play our young guy, the rookie that we drafted 2nd round. We got to get this guy out there. Bam! It happened. We saw him. Okay, but now you trade for Nyheim Hines. So. I'll let you answer this question. What do you believe Nyheim means for Devin Singletary and James Cook up there in Buffalo?
I don't think Singletary's role changes much because he's not much of a pass catcher anyway, and he's run reasonably well with this team, and he ran very well with this team last December, November. So I think Singletary's role doesn't change much, but Hines moves immediately into, or very, very soon, within a week, he moves into the primary pass catching role. And then you got to figure out, okay, those pass catchers for Buffalo, when they get these big leads, those guys never even see the field. So you got to then be really smart about when do you deploy Nyheim Hines, and it's in games that could potentially be close, which with Buffalo, there aren't even that many of those. But if you can identify those, then you can play Hines. I think he's out of the mix for this year. I think you got to look to you're thinking dynasty. You're thinking next year on James Cook.
No, hey, just since you went there, how many dynasty leagues are you in charge?
3. And one's an Empire League. Yeah. Are you familiar with the Empire League?
Hold on a second. What the hell is an Empire League?
Oh, it's the best. This is the best form of dynasty league. So here's how it works, Rick. See, it's a regular dynasty league, but when you win the league in any given year, you only get half of the money in that pot. The other half of it rolls from year to year to year, waiting for somebody to win your dynasty league in back-to-back years. And when that happens, you cash out that year, you cash out the rolling jackpot, and the league's over. You have won the league, something you can never do in any other format of fantasy football. All you can ever do is be the most recent winner. In this Empire League, you've won the Dynasty League. It's over. You can start again if you want to. You can redraft from the beginning, and it is so much fun. When you win the league and you've got 11 other guys trying to gun you down the next season, it's fantastic. The Empire League format.
I've never heard of that before, and that's fascinating. Charge, so okay, like the league that you're in, if somebody wins it back-to-back years, will everybody lose all of their players and you go back and you have a restart draft the next year? Like what if I love my team and I want to keep my team and I've built it and I've made trades and now some dude wins 2 in a row and maybe I was a runner-up and finished 4th the previous year? I'm damn pissed off. All this work I put in building my team is just flushed and I have to start from scratch. That's a little weird. That angle's a little weird for me.
Hell yeah. That's what makes it great is the investment level. I've got one right now that's sitting on a $12,000 pot that we've been building for a decade. And
Holy
taking
crap.
that thing down, I mean, you can buy something real with that, right? I mean, that's some real money. And you know what you're signing up for. You know that you could finish in that scenario. You could also be the guy who pulls down the whole thing. That's what you're signing up for with the Empire League. And I'm telling you, it is so much more fun than my regular dynasty leagues because you've got so much skin in the game and there's so much at stake and everybody's watching the guy who won last year to see how he's doing. And is that person going to make it back to back? It brings so much strategy in. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That is awesome. All right. So Charge, before we let you go here, I want to ask you, because I know that my man Charge, he's not just a football guy. He does sports radio in Minneapolis and other platforms. And so just off the top of your head, I just want your reaction to the news today that Steve Nash is no longer the Nets coach and likely Ime Udoka is going to take over for him. I just want your take on that.
Well, I know the reason you're asking me that is because I am currently in second place in your Dynasty Basketball League. So
you are kicking ass. I saw you and Randy Shaver. I was looking at the standings. I was like, look at my guy Charge and Shave up here at the top.
How about that? How about that? Yes, and despite the fact that we've stuck our neck out on Russell Westbrook a few times, and that's had mixed results, as you are well aware. But asking me to break down the Nets, no can do. I'm not there yet. I can barely pronounce all the guys on my team. Is it Kelly Oubre?
Yes, you nailed it.
Kelly Oubre. Yes.
You nailed it.
Let's hear it for me. And, we weren't even trying to be competitive because we took Jaren Jackson like the 3rd round of this Dynasty League. So we were like, oh man, we're going to just suffer until Thanksgiving or Christmas when he comes back. And the fact that we're in second place through 2 weeks feels pretty good. I'll be honest.
No, you guys have a really good team. There's no question about it. I suffered a really bad beat last week to Justin Fensterman. Bradley Beal hit me with a 4 of 16 on Sunday. I lost field goal percentage. Ooh. I lost the game. And I think I'm 7-9-1 or something like that through 2 games. I played 2 buzzsaws. Eric Seitz, who, the people listening are like, who's Eric Seitz? He's not a sports media guy, but he's a businessman down in Phoenix and a very, very successful one. And he is a shark. And so played him. And I think I took a 4-3-1 L. Anyway, it's all good. I freaking love my team. And so, well, you and I will meet at some point. We will meet and we will have a knockdown, drag out fight in the Cam Dynasty. But Charge just enlightened us to an Empire League. I had no idea, Charge. I had no idea.
It's super fun. It's super fun. Hey, are we going to tell our Packers story one of these days?
Charge, I freaking forgot about it, man. I freaking forgot. So yes, let's tell it right now. Me and Charge have been texting. We got to tell this story on the air. Okay, now's the time. There's so much going on with the trade deadline and stuff I forgot. So thank you for bringing this up. Let me just set the scene a little bit, and I'll let you take it from here. So I am working for Paul at fanball.com, okay? Fantasy sports writing, fantasy basketball writing. Paul and the great Rob Fithian created this, and all of us to a degree popularized what we're talking about right now, okay? We're all pioneers and founding fathers of this whole thing. So Charge, we're working together and all this, and he said, "Hey man, do you want to go to Lambeau and watch the Vikings and Packers game?" And I'll let you take it from there, Charge, because it wasn't just a Vikings Packers game. It was a very, very famous Monday Night Football game.
It was. So this is Randy Moss's rookie season. And so this goes back to 1988, October 5th, 1998. October 5th. The Vikings entered that game 4-0. The Packers entered that game 4-0. And the Packers were on, if you recall, Rick, an NFL record 24-game home winning streak into that game. And you and I have got we have two passes. We've got a press pass for the press booth, and then we've got an on-field pass. And we're driving to Lambeau. Now, there was nowhere to stay anywhere near Green Bay because at the time, Green Bay had about 3 motels, by the way, and they were all motels back then. There were no hotels in Green Bay. You and I stayed in Appleton, and here's the part of the story you will never remember. We stayed outside Appleton, and we made a joke about how we had to pull off on exit 190. And in passing, you and I said, wouldn't it be funny? It's exit 190. Wouldn't it be funny if Randy Moss puts up 190 yards in this game? And we just, went on with our thing. Over the course of that game, as many will remember, Randy Moss went berserk in that game and tortured the Packers. Cunningham ends up throwing 4 touchdowns in the game. Randy Moss puts up 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Vikings toyed with the Packers in the mist, in the rain of that Monday night game. And another angle that you may not remember, you and I were supposed to flip spots. I was up in the press box. You were down at field level, and we were supposed to flip spots. But at halftime, I decided I didn't want to flip spots because I was having a very good time with a female reporter from Duluth that was in the press box with me. So I left you down on the field, and you got the awesome on-field experience for one of the great wins in Viking history.
And I were, Viking fan at the time. I remember looking around Lambeau, quiet. You could have heard a pin drop in there. They were like, "What just happened? This guy just literally decapitated the entire stadium." And one of Moss's touchdowns was down the left sideline, big ball from Randall Cunningham. I was literally standing 10 feet off the sideline.
Wow.
And he caught it right in front of me. And I'll never forget that moment. I'm like, whoa. And then he went into the end zone right after that. I was like, I was thinking like, I'm probably on TV, right? Like,
yeah,
and I've actually looked at some of the video and I'm like, yep, there I am right on the sideline.
Oh,
right
you
there.
can
like,
see you. All right.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. So it's, and by the way, it was extremely wet. It was fall, so it was getting a little bit cold. I'm not even trying to complain, but it was not a great night to be at field level. So I was soggy as hell. By the way, I still have the press pass.
Do you really? Awesome.
I still have the press pass from that. That was just an amazing night. Thank you for the invite on that. I do remember Brett Favre late in the game cornholing. I shouldn't say that, cornholing. Pardon me. Ear-holing Mark Chmura with a ball literally right in his ear. Chmura wasn't looking, and Favre threw it 1,000,000 miles an hour, boop, right in the side of his helmet. It was and that happened right in front of me, and the sound that it made was like, I've never heard anything like that before. because Brett Favre threw it so hard. But Charge, we have a giveaway here at the top of the hour, and so our time is up here. But man,
all right. It's been a blast.
I appreciate you, an absolute dear friend, and sharing some storytelling here about Randy Moss, and a night I will never forget, my friend.
Yeah, that was a great night. Great to catch up with you. Let's do it again soon.
All right, Charge, you the man. He's with guillotineleagues.com, and I want you all to go over there and check out Paul's stuff and get into the Guillotine League thing. It's very, very fun, and he's out there on Twitter, and you can check him out. So, folks, it's 9:00, okay? And we've been talking about this all night, and we are going to give the helmet right now, a signed full-size Jets helmet with Garrett Wilson's autograph on it, okay? Of the Garrett Wilson helmet is Mark at 12. Mark at 12. And so Mark is his name. I guess York 212 is his. Mark, congratulations, man. Really cool piece. I believe it's going to grow in value in the market. I really do, because Wilson is and going to do a lot of things in his career. And this is big, man, and it's full size. It's not like one of the little kitty helmets, and that's cool too. Helmet, with the signature on it, that's pretty dope too. But it's a full size Jets helmet with Garrett Wilson with his autograph on it. It's a cool autograph, man. It's G Dub, and he draws a dot over it, and it is a so is it like thing here? Was it just a black and white photo? But anyway, it's absolutely fantastic. So congratulations to Mark at York 212 for winning the Garrett Wilson signed helmet, full-size Jets helmet. Really, really cool stuff right there for Mark. And keep listening to Bettor Sports Network, okay? We've got these giveaways. We do them all the time. And all kinds of really, really cool memorabilia can be going to you guys if you are lucky and if you keep listening. And the key is download the app, the Bettor Sports Network app, and follow us on Twitter at Bettor Network, and that's with an O, Bettor Network with an O in the Bettor. So let's take a break right here. I want to come back and tell you a little bit about Garrett Wilson and why I think this is such going to become a valuable piece of memorabilia as we sing Garrett Wilson's song. And we'll continue on here with the night, tracking Game 3 of the World Series. We got prop bets in the NBA. It's all coming up with your boy Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live.
Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
By the way, if you are a commissioner out there, if someone does not pay, that's on you at the end of the day. It sucks. That's why you have to get the money early, because if they don't pay, it's on you. You don't change the prize. A winner shouldn't be impacted because unfortunately you messed up as commissioner. And I've been caught with this before. I've made this mistake. It sucks, and I had to go out of pocket for it. You'll learn that maybe some of your friends should not be in that league. But Roan, we see it all the time with commissioner issues, and I can't stress it enough that when it comes down to league payment, it's on the commissioner if they don't have everybody's entry fee and someone decides to ghost them.
Yeah, I had to collect 36 entry fees this year. All of them were collected except one. And it was one of my friends who said he was going to pay the second. I forgot to remind him. He might even be listening, but I know he's going to pay. If not, I know where he lives. But nah, he'll pay.
Big brother Adam Rodas over here.
And even the guy that I've talked about before that usually always pays me at the end, he actually paid on time this time. He usually is like, I'll pay you on Friday, and then it doesn't come, and then it's 4 months later. And he always winds up paying. That's why I don't really get upset. But you've seen my emails. I don't play around. Like, This is the date. This is the date. You get it in by then. And I always, too, I'm like, the draft order will be determined when everyone pays. Right. So don't hit me up about the draft order. Once everyone pays, then the draft order will be done. And anyone who's been in this league, now Festy can't attest to this because he's never won money in my league, but the people who do win, they get it right away. Usually the next day or two. Just make sure the scoring, especially with football, no scoring changes. As long as it's not like a point victory, half a point, and then they'll get the money right
What
away.
about 2 points?
Yeah, I mean, wait it out just in case something crazy happens. I guess I don't wait till Thursday when the official score happens.
Yeah,
I mean,
man. I mean, a championship that I was in years ago got reversed, and I ended up winning on a Thursday stat correction.
Yeah,
of all
man,
things.
that kind of sucks.
But
You
not
hope
me, I won.
you hope it doesn't come down to that. If you're on the better end of that, it's great. But man, imagine thinking you won, you got the money, and then it changes. That's tough.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we are back on Bettor Sports Live. Hey, big congratulations again to the winner of our giveaway tonight. Mark, he's at York 212, and he won a signed Garrett Wilson full-size Jets helmet. That's really, really cool, man. And it's a great looking piece here. It's at Bettor Network. You know, you can check it out at Rick Hamlet Sports. You can check it out. G-Dub with a line, a little dot over it. It's dope, man. It's going to make a really cool piece. And, you know, in your man cave behind you, like with the Zoom setup on calls like we're doing right here. By the way, if you want to interact with the show, you can. You always can. We encourage it. We're an interactive show. It's the whole basis of our platform here. Hit the call button right next to the fun button, and you can choose audio or video and come on in here and hang out with your boy. Tyler Soto and Anthony Rivera will alert me that you're in here, and we'll talk and we'll have some fun. And you can always hit join the show, make comments, and get involved with the show that way as well. But we have fun here at Bettor Sports Network, and we will continue doing so. And we love having you guys and girls along for the ride here. But really cool piece. And in terms of Garrett Wilson, okay, me and Garrett Wilson have a little bit of a track record here in fantasy and going back to college football. You guys know what a college football fan I am, historian I am, aficionado, scout, the whole thing. Garrett Wilson, okay, I can't underscore this enough, was an absolute rock star at Ohio State. And we've seen rock star moments in the NFL already. Last week's game, rock star game, the game that he had against Cleveland with Flacco when they came from behind. And I think he had 2 touchdowns in that game off the top of my head. But he's an absolute beast. He's a dynasty stud. He was probably the 5th, 6th, 7th overall pick in dynasty leagues coming in to this season. And his flow this year has been a little choppy and all over the place. In the games with Flacco actually liked him and trusted him and threw to him. And so he had 52 yards and then 102 yards and then 60 and then 41. And then Wilson took over for Flacco, Zach Wilson. And the bottom fell out of Garrett Wilson. And hopefully you didn't drop him, okay? I certainly would not have recommended you doing that, as talented as he is. I mean, obviously, you're not going to drop him in a dynasty league. I'm talking redraft. But 27 yards, then 8 yards, then 24 yards in a 3-game stretch. And then pop. Last week, hit him for 115. 6 grabs, 115 yards, 7 targets. So that's what he can do. That's what he will do. This is a perennial 1,000-yard receiver that we're talking about here. He'll have 5,000, 6,000-yard seasons in his career, maybe more. Now, he's got to be in the right system. He's got to be with the right quarterback, but he is that talented. He does have number 1 talent to be a number 1 in the NFL, be an alpha wide receiver. He is that guy. He's cut from that cloth. So I like him. I like him quite a bit. And going forward, and obviously now that because Zach Wilson has always had this thing for Corey Davis. You know, he's familiar with him. He trusts him. They have synergy together. Well, Corey Davis is hurt now, so you got to throw to some other guys. And so I'll be curious when Corey Davis comes back if Wilson goes back to just like focusing on him and icing out Garrett Wilson. Obviously, we can't have that. We just gave away a signed full-size Jets helmet with Garrett Wilson's signature on it. So throw him the damn ball. All right, let's check in, folks, on our prop bets in the NBA and some of the scores here. It's a light night in the NBA, only 4 games. And we'll start here with the Nets and the Nets and Chicago Bulls. And we did give you the over here on Kevin Durant. Obviously, big news today. They fired Steve Nash. They're going to hire Ime Udoka when they orchestrate his departure from Boston. He's on season-long suspension for the alleged nefarious behavior. And you can do digging in that and look into that. We're just going to keep it to sports here in this moment. But Udoka is a hell of a coach. He's a difference maker on the sideline, and now the Brooklyn Nets are getting him. And so it's an upgrade from Steve Nash to Ime Udoka. It's definitely an upgrade for the Brooklyn Nets. But tonight they're going. It's late third here, 4:37 to go in the third quarter. Nets lead 72-65. And Kevin Durant, we gave you the over on him at 30.5. He's at 24 right now and really having a nice game. 5 of 10 from the field, 12 of 12 from the free throw line, and 2 of 4 from downtown. He's got 6 boards and 5 assists as well. He's doing his thing out there. Kyrie Irving, by the way, does not have a point. Does not have a point. Not one. Not one. Not 2, not 3, not 1. Bagel. We're deep in the third, and Kyrie Irving has a bagel. 0 of 6, 0 of 4, 0 of 0 in the field goals, threes, and free throws. That's crazy. All right, so Kevin Durant is tracking towards a dub. Let's check Bam Adebayo right here. We had Bam Adebayo at 18.5. He, of course, is the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat balling right now as we speak against the Golden State Warriors. And the Warriors lead 77-70 thanks to a big third quarter here. They've outscored the Heat by 9 so far in the third, and it's midway through the third. Bam Adebayo cooking. He's got 13 points in 23 minutes. We are well on pace to hit his over of 18.5. Told you the matchup with Draymond Green on over the weekend wasn't a problem. Last year wasn't a problem. Tonight so far, not a problem. He and Jimmy Butler are tied for the team lead in scoring right now with 13 points. We're looking good on Bam. We're looking good on Durant. So let's go to the Oklahoma City and Orlando box score. They're at the half. Orlando leads. I already like where we're going here. 66-63 is our halftime score. That means, folks, lots of points. And that should mean over. And for SGA, he's at 15 points. He's over halfway there at halftime. 15 points on 6 of 8. And I do have some bad news here on Trey Mann, though. I have been duped. And hopefully, I'll explain here in a minute. But SGA looking good. He's at 15 points. We're at 27.5. So we're tracking towards the over on that one as well. Now, I gave you Trey Mann, who had been starting for the Oklahoma City Thunder because Josh Giddey had been out. And Trey Mann averaging 13 points a game. His number was 11.5. He averaged 17 against Orlando last year. We had a lot of metrics going in our favor here. But the key is Josh Giddey being out. And if Josh Giddey is in, I wouldn't go with Trey Mann. And so I guess this is a retraction because we were busy doing other stuff. We had guests and stuff. And I didn't know this until now. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to retract it. I'll take the L. But this is not what I planned. And I have to throw somebody under the bus. And it's a website that I love. And we actually are going to have, I tell you what, we have a man coming up here, Steve Alexander of Roto World, a.k.a. Sports Edge, NBC Sports Edge. He might have actually written the blurb about, it's what they call a little blurb about a player being hurt, analysis, spin, the whole thing. Josh Giddey is playing tonight, okay? And I read on Roto World that he was not going to play tonight. And so there was a late switch. So I don't know if Steve's even working today for NBC Sports Edge, but we'll talk with him about that. Yo, man, what's up with Giddey? Because some of us made Trey Mann decisions based on Giddey being out. Trey Mann, by the way, is at 3 points right now. 3 points in 12 minutes. He ain't going to get there. He's not. I mean, he might, but he's probably not going to get there. Trey Mann getting to 11.5 in the starting lineup, getting 30 minutes. That's the arrangement that I thought we were talking about. So that's a buzzkill. But it is what it is. And then later on tonight, we've got Cam Johnson of the Phoenix Suns at 14.5, definitely going over that number against the Minnesota Timberwolves in what should be a pretty offensive game. And it's a good matchup for Cam Johnson. The Timberwolves are generous. Yes, they are. They are a very generous team. They give and they give and they give and they give. So let me take you through my waiver wire assessment here. And around the corner, we'll bring on Steve Alexander of Roto World. First of all, Kenyon Drake is somebody that you need to look at now because Gus Edwards now has a hamstring injury. And look, he might play this week. He might not. We're in a murky status here with Gus Edwards. But Kenyon Drake last week, 7 carries, 62 yards, also caught a touchdown on 4 catches and 5 yards. And we've seen him in the end zone before. They really don't have a whole lot left. Dobbins had surgery. Gus Edwards may not be able to go. Justice Hill, just a guy. So Kenyon Drake is somebody that you need to look at on the waiver wire for sure. Let's stay with the running back position here. James Cook, we talked about this. I was bullish on picking him up. Kind of a, not like I'm excited to get him on my lineup, but like they worked him in. He was clearly the RB2 in their first game out of the bye. All right, let's go pick up James Cook and let him germinate. And maybe Singletary gets hurt, and maybe he pops and is a real player for us down the stretch. That ain't happening, folks. That ain't happening. Nyheim Hines is on board, and James Cook in redraft leagues is now a flushable guy. Leave him on waivers if he's there, and you can go ahead and cut him if you have him on your team. There's a guy that we need to keep our eye on with the Los Angeles Rams. Now, what's going to happen with Cam Akers? He wanted to trade. The trade deadline passed. He was not traded. Will they reinfuse him? Will they kiss and make up? Will he be a factor for the Rams, or will they just curb him for the rest of the year? If they curb him for the rest of the year, a guy by the name of Ronnie Rivers is somebody that you need to be aware of. Ronnie Rivers had 12 touches in the Rams game this past weekend. 12. Like, Ronnie Rivers, who the hell is that? He was a all-purpose running back and pass catching back at Fresno State and put up good stats. He was a big boy in college football fantasy, okay? And now he's with the Rams. You're like, wait a minute, I thought there was fuss and hype about Kyron Williams. What's going on here? What's with this other rookie? I don't damn know, but it's what's up. And like I've said, when a running back hits the 10-touch threshold, now you're on my radar. If Ronnie Rivers had 7 combined touches, like 5 runs, 2 catches, we wouldn't be talking about him right now. He had 12 touches, 12. And it was a very, I don't know what the hell we're doing with our backfield type of deployment game. Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown and all these guys, right? It was just a mishmash of garbage. So you got to know Ronnie Rivers. And so I wanted to talk about him. If you're in a super deep league, maybe you're in a dynasty league, go see if Ronnie Rivers is on waivers and pick him up. Again, I'm not promising anything, but a super deep dynasty league, you know how the waiver wire is. There's nothing out there almost ever. Well, Ronnie Rivers is a guy you should look into. Jaylen Warren, as we stay at the running back position, the backup to Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. Okay. Najee Harris has been garbage this year. He's been dreadful, absolutely dreadful. Catching passes, which is redeeming his stat lines on a weekly basis, but we're talking about 12, 13, 14, 15 points. Like, that's a good game for Najee Harris right now. It's not what I was looking for. It's not the experience I was looking to get into. And so Jaylen Warren last week, 6 carries, 50 yards, 3 catches, 25 yards. And he consistently looks better than Najee Harris. I can't believe I'm saying this or that this is happening, but it's happening. And we need to react to it. And like me and Paul Charchian talked about with Jonathan Taylor, about like he might be shut down late in the year. You're kind of entering tank mode. At least you're making tanky moves. And so, like, when it's December and he's been playing on a bad ankle for 3 months, do you get him out of there and put Deion Jackson and Zach Moss out there and just run out the string and develop Sam Ehlinger? Okay. Same thing with Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. At what point do the Steelers say, all right, like, Najee's our guy. We're not done with him. We don't think he's toast, but we got to get him out of harm's way. Frankly, he has not looked healthy all year, frankly. So Jaylen Warren may be a late season guy, but he's just a guy, to me, stash him. Pick him up, stash him. And, you're not going to play him right now. But if you're and I'm talking about redraft, because if you're in a dynasty league, he should already be on a team. I'm talking about a redraft league. If you have a deep roster, if you're in like a Yahoo league and you've only got like 4 or 5 bench guys, you're probably not going to have to mess around with Jaylen Warren. But if you're in a deeper type of league with a long bench, definitely pick up Jaylen Warren if he's out there. We talked about Zach Moss. Like, he was on waivers, leave him on waivers. He's going as the RB3 in Indianapolis. If you're a Jonathan Taylor dynasty manager, you're going to want to get some Zach Moss. You're going to want to get some Deion Jackson and some Zach Moss. I'm a Jonathan Taylor, manager in the Cam Dynasty, and I have Nyheim Hines is now Bill, and I was able to pick up Deion Jackson. And now I will try to somehow, some way get Zach Moss. He's probably on a team, and I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave him out there. But I like getting a monopoly when I've got like a rock star like Jonathan Taylor. Jeff Wilson. I promise Jeff Wilson's on waivers right now. Let me go to Yahoo and see how rostered he is. I bet he's, 40% rostered, 33% rostered right now. But I'm a big Jeff Wilson guy, and Jeff Wilson is back. I believe that he is going to turn it into a timeshare in Miami with Raheem Mostert. I believe that we're talking about a timeshare eventually. It won't happen right away, but I think eventually we're talking about a timeshare there. So let's see how rostered Jeff Wilson is. He is at 35% rostered. I nailed that one. I don't always get that, like a good feeling. I nailed that one pretty much on the head, 35% for Jeff Wilson. I promise you, after waivers run tonight and then tomorrow night in other leagues, that his rostering will be significantly higher than that. Again, not right away. He's a pickup and stash guy. Raheem Mostert has not been able to keep the train on the tracks. He's a guy that gets hurt. That's why he's bounced around. He's a talented back. He's very fast. We know all of this. But Jeff Wilson is there, and that's a buzzkill for Mostert. And then one more running back, Caleb Huntley of the Atlanta Falcons. And again, you get to double-digit touches, and you have my attention. And Huntley has flirted with that. He's been that. And then last week he wasn't. But then week 8 happened, and he had, 16 carries, 91 yards. And then you had Tyler Algier. He was at 14 carries, 39 yards. Algier did get into the house on a reception. He had 3 catches for 46. So we've known this for about 3 weeks now, maybe even a month now. This is a split backfield between Huntley and Algier. There's a bit of a hot hand approach to it. Who's running better is going to get a little bit more. We saw that with Caleb Huntley in the Carolina game. And so that's going to ebb and flow from week to week. But the bottom line is Atlanta loves running the ball. And they've got 2 burly, barrel-chested running backs coming downhill on you. And both of these guys are good. I like them both. Like the Tyler Algier pick was good, man. He's faster than you think. He's got a big old, like, hulky body. And I like what Atlanta's doing there, man. I do. But again, Caleb Huntley, it's a running back. Okay. Can you get running backs on waivers? No. You have to be ahead of schedule on them. So what if Tyler Algier, God forbid, gets hurt next week? Boom. Caleb Huntley is a thing. And he was on your roster the week before Algier got hurt. That's how you have to do this. Because if Algier gets hurt, then Caleb Huntley is going to be very, very hard to get. There's going to be a lot of demand for him. So with running backs, you've got to be out in front. And so that's why when a guy hits the 10-touch threshold, that's why I'm in on it. Like Ronnie Rivers. Who's picking up Ronnie Rivers this week? Probably not that many people, okay? You got to pick up a back the week before something pops to open up space for him. It's just how you got to handle it with running backs. It's a weird position that way. Wide receivers. I am not a DeMarcus Robinson guy. I'm not. I never have been. Kansas City, Mahomes, the whole thing. Wasn't even a guy, a fan of his there. Because he drops balls. He's unreliable. Last week, he caught 6 passes for 64 yards on 8 targets. The reason I bring up DeMarcus Robinson, I'm not getting him. But you might want to get him. Rashad Bateman is out. And DeMarcus Robinson is talented. And I saw him on a couple plays looking real fast, shooting up the sideline and in Sunday's game. Just a guy, put on your radar. Here's another guy to put on your radar. And a guy that I'm going to be checking in my dynasty leagues to see if he just happens to be out there on waivers. And if he is, I'm going to try to pick him up. And it's Samori Toure of the Green Bay Packers. He caught 1 ball for a touchdown from 37 yards. And frankly, looked really good on catching that touchdown. Talented guy, played in Nebraska. I'm familiar with his work. He's not a rock star like Garrett Wilson or anything like that, but he's talented. He put up some numbers in college. Aaron Rodgers needs guys to throw to. And next man up, Al Lazard, arm in a sling. We don't know how long he's going to have to miss, all this kind of stuff. So Samori Toure, put him on your radar. Darius Slayton of the Giants. It's kind of a thing. Like, kind of. And when I say kind of, I mean, I want to stress kind of, because he's at 58 plus yards in 3 of his last 4 games. I mean, we're not talking about much here. This is nickels and dimes. He caught 5 for 66 last week. Obviously, he's hamstrung with Daniel Jones as his quarterback. but he is the number one wide receiver for the New York Giants right now, which is crazy. He's the worst number one receiver probably in the last 20 years in the NFL. But that's where we're at. And so you got to go with the flow of that. Here's a guy that I want to check out, Jacoby Myers. I want to see how rostered he is in Yahoo leagues. He's at 81%. Okay. Well, he should be at 100%. 19% of you need to get on waivers and pick up Jacoby Myers. He should be a 99, 98 rostered guy. Why? Because Mac Jones only throws to one guy, Jacoby Myers. Last week, Exhibit A. The week before with Bailey Zappi, actually, I got to go 2 weeks back because that's when it was kind of Bailey Zappi's show. Remember, he activated everybody, the tight ends, the wide receivers, everybody activated, right? And then you had the game where it was Jones starting and then Bailey Zappi coming in and then Bailey Zappi sucking. And then last week it was Mac Jones. And so this game with Mac Jones back in his spot as the starting quarterback, he targeted Jacoby Myers 12 times. And it was 9 grabs, 60 yards, and a touchdown. You know I love slots. You know I love volume guys. And Jacoby Myers should be rostered in more than 81% of Yahoo leagues. A couple other wide receivers I want to tell you about here. Obviously, we talked about Chase Claypool. Let me see how rostered he is in Yahoo leagues. Obviously, in a dynasty league, nobody's like cutting Chase Claypool, but I bet he was cut. 58% rostered. 58% rostered. I don't see him like soaring with Justin Fields in a passing game that a lot of times throws 19 times a game or 23 times a game. Although with Claypool, maybe they throw more. But you got to pick him up. You definitely got to pick him up. I would put him. I want to scan through my wide receivers here real quick. I would put Jacoby Myers 1, and I would put him at number 2. I would rather have Jacoby Myers in a redraft league right now than Chase Claypool because I know Mac Jones is going to throw the ball to Jacoby Myers. I know that. And then Chase Claypool would be second. Matt Collins of the Miami Dolphins is the last guy I want to talk about here. 2 guys, actually. 7 for 64, no touchdown, 8 targets. He has caught 20 balls in his last 4 games. And again, this is a deep league special, but he's super talented, and he's always been a playmaker, and he's getting the most playing time of his career right now with the Las Vegas Raiders, and he's doing things with it. He's scoring touchdowns. He caught 7 balls for 64 yards. Like, he's not just the 50-yard home run hitter. He's actually doing some sort of slot stuff and some volume stuff, and I like it. He's a guy you should look at this week. And then Rondale Moore of Arizona. Last week caught 7 balls, 92 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets. And the receptions over the last 4 games have gone 7, 6, 1, 7. So he's been at 6 grabs in 3 of the last 4 weeks. Rondale Moore is a thing right now in Arizona, even with Nuke Hopkins out there. He is. So he's a guy that I would look at as well on the waiver wire. And when we return right here, we'll have Steve Alexander of Roto World fame, a.k.a. Dr. A. And we'll talk fantasy basketball with him. We'll talk about the Nets dumping Nash and bringing in Ime Udoka and the ripple effects of that in the fantasy world. We'll talk about the binge of scoring in the NBA and get his theory on that. And we'll do it next with Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live.
Network. Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing shot to short. Ramirez has it. Throws. Burley picks a perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ. Lays it in. Right up 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson to carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored.
Wilson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the banking. They're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downey, swinging, there's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back on Bettor Sports Live, and you know this man as Dr. A of Roto World fame. He is Steve Alexander. He's my boy. He's my homie. He's my partner in crime, and we welcome him back to Bettor Sports Live here. We just gave away, Dr. A Garrett Wilson autographed full-size Jets helmet. Really dope piece, man. You've got some memorabilia behind you right there. Are you a fan of Garrett Wilson's work, man?
You know what? That is a cool item for y'all to give away. Like, not a lot of people have a professional football player's helmet in their office. I have next to me right here the game-worn Dominique Wilkins pair of shoes that I keep. I always keep those within, 2 to 3 feet of me at all times.
So at the grocery store, they're in the little front area of the cart as you push it around, right?
No, they're around my neck, like old school.
I understand. It is getting spicy here with the Nets and Bulls. I turned off the baseball game. It's 4-0. It's boring as hell. Brandon Marsh has gone yard on Lance McCullers as well. Royce O'Neal just dragged Nikola Vucevic down to the floor, and they all kind of got nose to nose and face to face and all this kind of stuff. And we'll talk Nets here in a minute. Check out tomorrow night's giveaway here, Dr. A. We've got the Daily Social giveaway is Shaquille O'Neal autographed Hall of Fame basketball. How about that piece, awesome, dude? How about that awesome piece?
How do I get in on that?
Oh, it's fun. It's funny you ask. You follow at Bettor Network on Twitter, if you're not already. And that's Bettor Network. You like and retweet the post with the Shaq signed ball, and you tune in tomorrow night with me. And at 9 o'clock Eastern time, somebody, maybe you, will win the Shaquille O'Neal autographed Hall of Fame basketball. What a piece, right?
That sounds a lot easier than what I did to get Dominique's shoes back in 1985. Like, that's a good deal. I like that plan.
What did you do? What did you do to get Dominique's signed shoes, game-worn shoes back in the day?
Well, I was a child, and a girlfriend of mine's dad was an NBA photographer, and we stole Dominique's home phone number out of the Rolodex. And I called him from my bedroom and said, "Hey, we're coming to Atlanta from Indiana for spring break." And he actually talked to me on the phone. I don't even think he knew who I was. I was just like, "Hey, I'm Steve. I was asking you for stuff." He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "I want your shoes when I come through Atlanta." He's like, "Okay, well, be in the third lot of the parking deck at 4 o'clock. And my mom just dropped me off at the Omni in 1985 as like a, 15-year-old kid, 16. And he showed up and And we went to the game, and after the game, he came out and gave me his shoes. Then I had to walk through the underground Atlanta with Dominique's shoes, trailed by like 100 kids who wanted them. It was a little tense.
A little tense. That's downtown Atlanta that we're talking about, okay? And not everybody's real friendly in downtown Atlanta. You got some people that might have wanted to heist those shoes from you. Look, I've gotten to know Dominique over the years with NBA TV, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. And what that story right there does is it personifies how freaking cool Dominique Wilkins is, because this stalker from Indianapolis comes down and wants his damn shoes, and he actually gave you his shoes. He gave his stalker his shoes. That's amazing. It shows how cool of a guy Dominique Wilkins is.
Very cool. I love Dominique.
No comment on me doubling down on calling you Dominique Stalker. No, you just.
I mean, it's stalker. It's stalker behavior, but I could get away with it because I was a kid. I couldn't do it today, I don't think.
Probably not. And like if you're a 30-year-old man, chasing after ball players for autographs right now, I don't know. I was a kid doing it. Me and my brother did it. I've got 1 million autographs, right? And we were like 13, 14, 15, chasing around the Reggie Jacksons, the Jack Morrises, the Wade Boggses, the Don Mattingleys, guys like that, getting their autographs, bugging the crap out of them. A lot of them, we'd be at the hotel, right? They'd be out dining, I don't know, clubbing, whatever they were doing. And so we'd be there at midnight, 12:30. And they would come back and like, are you serious? I just want to go back to my room. We got to sit here and sign stuff. But they did, most of them. And this is back in the 80s, man. This is like a long, long, long time ago when things were different and players didn't have their guard up as much because, nowadays, shoot, everybody wants something from them. People on social media taking their head off. It's just, life is so weird and so like edgy now. You know what I mean? But ball players back in the day could just like roll up. Hey, here's the Sharpie. And all that. What are you grabbing here, Steve?
Well, this is me and Dion.
I love it.
And this is when I was a little bit older. I was probably too old to be tracking down Dion, but I was not the only one doing it. I was in college, but dude, I'm so glad I did that because that's like my favorite picture of all time. He's got the glasses on. He's got the suit. He got beamed in the back the night before. I was in Cincinnati against the Reds, like right when everything was going down in like 91, 92. So it's pretty cool. I love that picture. It's my favorite possession, I think.
Yeah, that was prime time. Like it wasn't like, mellowed out Dion or whatever. That was prime time with all the bling, all the fancy suits, and that's what he was rocking in that picture. He had Jerry curls in that picture, right? Didn't he have Jerry curls at that point?
Yeah, I think so. But it's funny because my brother took that picture with an old school camera.
Right.
I didn't know for like 4 or 5 days if the picture even happened. It's not like, you take a picture with your phone and right away. But, I don't know why I'm sharing all my crap. You have so much cool stuff in your office that probably blows most of mine away.
Well, I don't know about all that. I do have a bunch of cool stuff. I tell you what, I'll show. Where's this Reggie Jackson autograph? Where's my Reggie Jackson autograph? Here it is. So let's see if this can come through here. Reggie Jackson, Mr. October. Let me get it the right way there. A little chewing tobacco spit right there, the little brown smudge. And my mom, may she rest in peace, she got this autograph. We were waiting at the Hyatt Hotel in downtown Minneapolis, and I think he was with the Angels at the time. I'm pretty sure he was with the Angels. So we're waiting on Reggie. Okay, we got cards, we got balls, we got the whole thing. Reggie came in and he was one of those guys. Like he late at night, just wanted to go to his room, saw the crowd, try to beeline the other way and avoid us. And my mom, she usually just dropped us off, like your mom did with you at the Army. My mom would drop us off. We'd be there for literally hours and hours on end. And we would set up a time because we didn't have cell phone to call my mom. It was the 80s. So my mom would just know, all right, I'm going to show up at midnight and come pick you guys up. So we were down there. And so my mom was, it just kind of all happened at once. My mom was there. All right, we got to go. We're like, Mom, just 5 more minutes. We're waiting on Reggie Jackson. And my mom works and it's late at night. I mean, what an absolute angel to put up with our BS with this stalking of players for autographs. Reggie Jackson comes in, okay? And he tries to avoid us. And my mom's like, hell no. Hell no. This is not happening like this. My sons have been waiting. So she goes up to Reggie Jackson, talks to him, and what was very nice, but very persuasive. And she got Reggie Jackson to sign our cards, this baseball, and she actually ended up having like a 3-minute conversation with Reggie. I'm like, what the hell did you talk about with him? I think Reggie might have been flirting with my mom. I'm not quite sure. I think something might have been going on with that. I'm like only half kidding with that, by the way. But any old way, man. Yeah, I've got a bunch of memorabilia, and we will certainly bring it out here. But Reggie Jackson signed ball, that's pretty cool right there. Now, Steve Alexander, aka Dr. A of Roto World fame. Let's oh, by the way, Zach Levine just said, "Oh, dagger!" And the Bulls are up by 9 right now on the beleaguered Nets. 5:37 to go. Timeout, Jacques Vaughn. Oh, that's right. Steve Nash got blown out of the water today by the Brooklyn Nets. Less than 2 hours after the news came out, we find out that Ime Udoka is going to go from Boston down to Brooklyn and become their new head coach eventually. Does this move the needle for you at all in fantasy basketball? Are you looking at Kevin Durant differently? Are you looking at Kyrie Irving differently? Are you looking at Joe Harris is going to get more PT? Or is it just a different coach and the same exact valuation of all the fantasy players with the Brooklyn Nets?
You know, everybody says that Udoka he's a player's coach and players want to play for him. Will this get Ben Simmons off the bench and onto the court and start contributing? Because, part of me thinks, Rick, that I'm not even sure Steve Nash got fired today. I could see Ben Simmons coming to him this morning and being like, "Hey, coach, I can't go tonight." And Nash being like, I can't do this anymore. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. I've got this anti-Semitism stuff. I've got the ring chaser. I've got you not playing. I can't do this anymore. It's too much for me. It's not fun. I'm out. Because Ben Simmons, when he was playing, was not doing what he was supposed to do. And he's only done it a couple times. And now one game turns into 2 games. Does he have any passion left for the game at all? We don't know. I think if anybody can bring that out of him, it's Udoka. I don't think it moves the needle on Kevin Durant at all. I had so much faith in Kyrie tonight that I put him in my FanDuel lineup. Maybe a mistake. He's 2 of 10 for 4 points. So there's money down the drain. But everybody says, Rick, that everybody wants to play for this guy. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm a Nets fan, I'm kind of fired up right now. Although now we take a guy that's been suspended for an entire season because of womanizing, whatever you want to call it, issues. So we add that on top of what is already a dumpster fire. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not a big Nets fan. I don't know. It can't hurt, I guess. Things can only go up from here, right?
If so the whole Ben Simmons thing, right? And you mentioned Steve Nash. And we talked about this for 3 hours on NBA radio earlier today, me and Antonio Daniels on Sirius XM. Part of my initial reaction, the news hit 5 minutes before we went on the air, Steve. So it was quite the deal. But one of my things was, I believe that Steve Nash is not mad right now. I believe Steve Nash is relieved right now. He no longer has to deal with this train wreck of a disaster, of a chaotic mess. It's no longer his problem anymore. Okay. And he didn't create the problem. The players have created the problem with the Brooklyn Nets right now. It's not Steve Nash. Can Steve Nash coach his way out of a paper bag? Maybe not. Okay. But I don't think anybody would have been able to coach this team successfully. Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, John Wooden, Coach K, you name it. They all would have struggled with this team because you got to have buy-in from players. And how do you get buy-in from these mercurial weirdos who are fantastic players, but they're so mercurial that who can reach them? So I think that, and Woj reported that, yes, the Nets fired Steve Nash, but it was a mutual decision. And I think there was part of this where Steve Nash was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Might have fired himself. So, Steve, I'm with you there. I had the same thought about Steve Nash, man. This has been misery for him.
You remember when we were back stalking NBA players and Reggie Jackson, and we were like, it was the last day of school before spring break, and then school got out, you got in your car and you're driving home and you've got the radio cranked up and the windows down. You're just like, I'm off for a week. I'm going to Florida. This is the best day of my life. I really think that that's how Steve Nash drove home today. I think he was like, this is amazing. I don't have to go in there tomorrow and deal with Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving.
And Durant, who tried to get him fired.
And Durant, who's probably the reason that Steve Nash is not there right now.
Oh, my God. Oh,
and then they come out and do this. Then they come out, they get beat by the Bulls at home. Kyrie pulls who was the guy like several years ago? I can't think of the player, but he was like a baller, but he'd come out every once in a while like to make some statement and like not score. They did like 2 or 3 times.
Kobe used to do that.
Well, yeah. But it just reminds me of like, I don't know if this is just Kyrie having an off night or if Kyrie's like, it's got to be building up in him too. I mean, you had those, 5 or 6 guys sitting in the front row last night heckling him. The press is all over him. He's not talking to the press right now. And he just comes out and just lays an egg on national TV, right? Like, I don't know.
I don't think that Kyrie is, you remember Kobe back in the day? I'll never forget this. I almost got fired about this, but the narrative about Kobe was he's a ball hog and he doesn't pass the ball enough and he's got to get off the ball more. He's on the ball too much. We got Shaq, we got all these guys. And so there was a game late in the season where he said, all right, cool. You guys do it. Go do it without me. I'm not shooting. And he literally won a game. I don't remember the year. I'm 99% sure it was a game against Sac. And I'm also like 90% sure that he literally kind of sort of forfeited a division title for the Lakers for what that's worth with that loss. It was a very important game. And he just said, all right, cool. You think I'm a ball hog? You think you guys are better than me? You think you can do it without me? Cool. Do it without me. And I don't think that's what's going on here with Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie Irving is I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's like obviously a sensational player. He's got 4 points on 2 of 11. Guys have bad nights, but this is maybe an accumulation of all the stuff he's been dealing with that dumbass decision to post, the anti-Semitic film. Like, what are you doing? And then he comes out and says he's not an anti-Semite. Okay, really? Like, really? Okay, so I'm not going to like call him a liar and all this kind of stuff. He did eventually pull down the tweet. It took him 3 damn days to do it. But like, how are you linking yourself and like, I don't know, like buddying up to anything anti-Semitic? Like, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So I think there's a lot of stuff on Kyrie right now. I really do. I think it's an accumulation of stuff here. Hey, chicken dinner winner, Kevin Durant at 32 points, baby. Dr. Ray, we took the over on his point prop tonight at 30.5. Oh, I wanted to ask you before we let you go here. One more question for you, brother. We right now in the NBA have 10 players averaging 30-plus points per game. We right now in the NBA have 15 teams averaging 115 points per game or more. Last year, we had 2 players average 30 points, Joel Embiid and LeBron James. Right now, small sample, but still, we have 10. Last year, we had 2 teams, Dr. A, average 115 points for the entire season. This year, we have 15 teams averaging 115 points 2 weeks in. We're seeing a massive explosion in terms of scoring. I would like your theory as to why.
I just think the rules have become so favored towards offensive players, and it's different today than it was in the 80s and 90s. Like, these guys spend their whole life, it's like Tiger Woods versus Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. Like, Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer were hanging out, smoking cigs, and drinking Arnold Palmer's and really probably not in the weight room a lot. And, today's world with AAU and youth basketball, and there's so much money tied up in it. And they know when you can tell when these kids are going to have some NBA potential when they're like 9 years old. So you get them the best coach in the world to work with them for the rest of their life. And they're just built for this. And I just think the caliber of the players and their offensive capabilities combined with the rules and everything else. I mean, you just see these freaks of nature that can do anything. And there's so many of them. And ironically, the one that's leading the way is the pudgy kid from another country, Luka, who moves in slow motion and nobody can guard him. Nobody can stop him. But, the other guys, are jumping out of the gym and just like, it's amazing.
More, Dr. A. That's why I'm picking Luka to win MVP this year, because he's actually starting the season in really good shape.
Yeah, Luka's my boy, dude. I'm just kidding about Luka. He was pudgy last year, maybe. He's still not. You don't look at him and think, man, that kid's skinny. He's still got a little.
I know.
He's got a little beef to him, but nah, he's a monster. That's my guy right there. That Luka's the only guy that I would bug about a pair of shoes or an autograph at my advanced age. Because I love me some Luke. I'd give them to my kids.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, Dr. A, you're my boy. Always great catching up with you. You, by the way, are the leader in terms of visits here. I think we've done this 3 or 4 times, at least 3, maybe 4. You are the leader right now. You have the Bettor Sports Network high in terms of appearances here with your boy Rick Kamla. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, based on the fact that you were on the radio earlier today with Antonio Daniels, I will take that because I do not have the Antonio Daniels pedigree, we'll say. But dude, I'm honored to be here. I'm flexible. You don't need to prep me with a bunch of stuff. We just gotta get on here and have a good time and talk some sports. So anytime you have a need or a cancellation, I'm there, dude.
I love it. Dr. A, you the man. Continued success with Roto World and in all your fantasy leagues, except for when you play against me. But you're my boy, and I appreciate you.
Hey, I'm doing pickup of the day after these games. 4 games to choose from. There's not going to be a lot of action, but Tyler Hero got hurt. A couple guys got hurt. There may be a little gem out there for your fantasy hoops pickup tonight around 1 a.m.
And check that out over at NBC Sports Edge with Steve Alexander, a.k.a. Dr. A. Dr. A, you the man.
Thanks, man. I'll see you later.
That's my boy right there. Peace out to Dr. A. And ladies and gentlemen, boy, this Nets thing is a mess, man. They're getting somewhat drilled now at home by the Chicago Bulls. It's an 11-point game, 108-97, 49 seconds left. Kevin Durant just had a really vicious foul on Nikola Vucevic. They didn't look at it or anything like that, but it was like a tomahawk, like, wow. And he's pissed. You can just tell. That was a frustration foul. That was an I'm mad as hell foul. The TNT cameras are on Kyrie Irving right now, and he's got the 1,000-yard stare. He can't believe how bad of a game he had. His teammates are coming over and dapping him up and trying to make him feel a little bit better about it. But he's got that look on his face like, did I really just face plant like I just face planted in front of God and everybody with all that's going on, about me and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know. It's like, if you are an anti-Semite, I'm done with you, like done. And you're not going to be able to get me back. There's not going to be an apology. Sorry or what? No, if you're an anti-Semite, you're an anti-Semite. Bye. You're out with me. If you're a racist, you're out with me. Like out. No tolerance for it at all. No wiggle room at all. Bye. Go live your life somewhere else. You're not going to have any involvement with me. And so I don't know if but it's really dubious and really questionable to post anti-Semitic information on your Twitter feed, leave it there for 3 days, bunch of public backlash, and then you remove it, right? Doesn't look good, man. It does not look good. And I believe that Kyrie is in the doldrums now because of all of that. And I'm not like painting him to be a victim or trying to go give him a hug or anything like that, but it's a lot of weight on him right now. I think that's really let's check out the baseball game here. Game 3 of the World Series. We gave you the Astros tonight, and your boy's been rolling like at a really, really strong clip in terms of the postseason and the regular season, and not tonight. We're not going to win them all. You know that. We're not going to win them all. And tonight is the Phillies' night. They're up 7-0 on the Houston Astros right now. I dipped out at 4-0. I had to get my eye on this net game a little bit. At 4-0, I dipped out because doing nothing. Ranger Suarez is freaking dealing. And it's basically a little bit about what I said. I said Ranger Suarez might have 5 innings in him, but he's got to be really, really efficient with his pitches. And I said maybe 60 pitches divided by 5 is 12 per inning. Well, he's at 76 pitches, and now he's out of the game. They brought Brogdon in. But Ranger Suarez had that game. 5 innings, 76 pitches, 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 Ks. And Ranger Suarez has now put the Phillies in a very, very good position to win this World Series. Got a long way to go, but it's a cat and mouse game. They won game 1, they lost game 2. Now they've won game 3. If we keep this cat mouse game going, we go to game 7, Phillies win. That would be the pattern. A lot can change in between now and then, as you know. And one of the advantages that the Astros had over the Phillies was their pitching. And the fact that you're going to need absolute studs on the mound to go to Philadelphia and slow down a Philadelphia offense, which is averaging 7 runs per game at home in the playoffs. We talked about this. And the Phillies are 5-0 at home in the playoffs. Well, go ahead and make it 6-0. And I presume the Phillies aren't done scoring tonight. So their average of 7 runs per game at home in the playoffs is going to spike as well. And when you think about Lance McCullers gave up 5 home runs tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 home runs. Oh my God. He gave up 5 home runs. He gave up 7 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings. Wow. And Lance McCullers had a playoff career ERA of 2.70 coming into this game. That Philly lineup is an absolute shredder. And if McCullers can't, not shut them down, talking about limiting them, 2, 3, 4 runs, let's be in the game until the mid-innings. Couldn't even do that. That's a bad sign for the Stros. I'm not off of the Stros winning it all. I'm not going to flip-flop on my prediction the whole way here because they lose a game. What if they win tomorrow and they're right back on pace to win the series? But it doesn't look good right now. No, it doesn't. Tell you what, folks, big thanks to Nick Whalen of RotoWire, Paul Charchian of GuillotineLeagues.com, and Steve Alexander of RotoWorld for stopping by. Big thanks to you all for hanging out with your boy Cam, listening, getting involved in the chat. Congratulations to Mark on winning the Garrett Wilson signed full-size autographed helmet. And tomorrow night, we'll be giving away a Shaq autographed Hall of Fame basketball at 9 o'clock Eastern with your boy Rick Kamla. Big thanks to Tyler Soto and Anthony Rivera. I'm Cam. We'll see you tomorrow on Better Sports Live.